Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 coastal Dollar Tree DIYs for you from the Crafty Vault. I like to decorate coastal year-round, so I wanted to bring you some more fun beach DIYs for decor for your home. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I wanted to make a driftwood lighthouse. So what I'm going to start with is just a Dollar Tree wood ruler. Just go ahead and remove the stickers on there. And I'm going to be using these wood slices. I think they look a lot like driftwood. You could always use real driftwood if you have it. But I wanted to show you some items that you could get at the Dollar Tree and that you could use for this. So I have quite a collection. Whenever I see these, I always grab them. They're my favorite of any of the wood slice. And what I'm going to do is just start trying to find the longer ones. I'm looking for flat ones and then the shorter ones. And what I want is I want a gradual transition from long to short as you go up like you would have in a lighthouse. And then I also have a couple pieces of driftwood there that I did find at the beach that I'm going to be using for this DIY as well. So I was looking for flat pieces because some of them have a little bit of a curve and kind of all about the same diameter. I got to that point and I realized I just have short and I just have long. Right now I need like a gradual transition. So to do that, I'm just going to cut these. And for that, I use my miter scissors. I got those miter scissors on Amazon. I do have those linked in my Amazon shop below. They work great on cutting these. I think my blade might be getting a little dull on these again, though. I might need to change them. But not too bad if I cut them and then just give them a quick sand. Just to kind of clear up any edges. I kind of like the rugged look. It looks like driftwood, but you don't want it like too falling apart there after being cut. And I'm just going to keep building that up. I want almost the entire ruler to be covered with these little wood pieces. I call them driftwood slices. I guess they're just wood slices. And just a gradual transition. I'm not really measuring before I cut because I know I can kind of fit it somewhere here. And I'm just measuring by size to try to get that gradual transition where it's a little bit skinnier at the top. It's just going to give it that classic lighthouse feel. And as you can see, the wood is pretty uniform. I mean, it's slightly different in color. I'm going to show you how I actually give it a little bit more variation because I think it just really adds a lot of character to this driftwood lighthouse project. So I think that is plenty of them. And even though I like the color on them, I want to stain some of them. So to do that, I just mixed a little bit of gray acrylic and some, I think it's burnt umber, like a brown acrylic. And I just want like that driftwood, gray, weathered look for some of them. And we're just going to do a really quick stain with this. So I take just some and go over the wood stem. And then while it's still wet, I just kind of go over it with a baby wipe. And that way you can still see that wood grain go through. It's just going to give a light gray stain and it's going to dry really quickly too. So way easier than staining when you just use paint like this. But I'm only I'm going to skip a couple, then stain it. As you can see, there's already a little bit of a variation. And I'm going to kind of mix it up. Like, I don't want it to be, like that one I only skipped one. Just to make it a little bit more random with the different colors. And I think this is going to make it match well with the driftwood that I actually found from the beach there. There's just a really weathered piece of driftwood that I thought might work for the top. And there's actually a piece that's actually like a piece of a palm tree that's a driftwood that I thought would be great for the bottom of this one, which is this one right here. I love it. I think it's a perfect bottom here for the lighthouse. The only problem is it's a little bit too thick. I think it's going to stick out a little bit too far. So what I'm going to do is take it to my saw. And as you can see, I just cut it down a little bit. The only problem with that is now it's got this straight, clean cut. And I don't want that. I want it to look like driftwood, right? So to do that, I just take my pliers and I just kind of like chew it up a little bit there at the end. give it like a faux weathering there. And the color inside is still kind of brownish, so I went ahead and used that same gray-brown color that we mixed up to kind of stain the end to make it blend in with the driftwood vibe of that. And then I'm just going to give it a quick sanding. That'll give it a little bit of weathering as well. And I think this is a perfect base for the lighthouse like that. And then I can attach all of those wood slices to the ruler. And then I wanted to use this piece of driftwood. It's a very weathered piece of driftwood, but it kind of has a triangular shape, which is what I was going for the top of the lighthouse. It's just way too thick. So what I'm doing is actually just kind of chewing it apart, making it thinner. Since it's very weathered driftwood, it's pretty easy to do that, just to make the piece thinner. And then I cut it a little bit shorter, and then I also cut it to make it a little bit more triangular at the top. So I did 2 cuts on it, and it's still a little bit like too thick, so I do like kind of whittle it down a little bit. Also, all of those clean cuts on there, I want to chew those up a little bit. And just using like tools like a pliers like that is just the easiest way to do it. I think that is looking way better. And I thought that'd be a really cute top for the Driftwood Lighthouse. Like I said, it was still a little bit too thick, so I just chewed it down a little bit more here by just removing some of the pieces. I found that the pliers worked better than the saw because it really gave you that weathered look. I am almost happy with it. Maybe just a little bit more off of here. And to even it out a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. Now it is still thicker than the wood slices. So I'm actually going to use a popsicle stick to kind of attach it to the back of the ruler. Just to kind of offset the width of it a little bit. I can't really chew it down any further. And so let me show you how I'm going to do that. I just use a jumbo popsicle stick. And I'm just going to cut it into a little piece like that can stick out from behind the ruler that I can then use to attach the driftwood to that. So I'm just going to use hot glue. And I have like the ridge where the stickers were. That's going to be the back of my project. And I glue it onto the back. Add some hot glue to the front and just glue my driftwood piece. It's very fragile. I think I pushed on it a little too hard and cracked it. But I'm committed, so I just glued it back together, and being broken, I think even adds more character to the driftwood look. And now it's just a matter of putting this together. I can do a couple at a time before my hot glue sets up, so I still have them lined up how I wanted them, from smallest to largest. And I can do like 2 or 3 here at a time with my hot glue, and I'm just trying to center that on the wood ruler and just gluing it straight to it. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue, which holds up really well for my wood projects like this, so I think that this should be no exception. And I'm going to do that all the way till I get to the bottom here. And I did cut the ruler slightly. I cut the circle off the end just because I thought it was going to be a little bit too long, and I'm really glad I did that because it would be harder to do that now. And then I just hot glued that bottom piece of driftwood to the base. And we have the structure of the lighthouse. I think it's looking really cute. What do you guys think? Now, even though it's rustic, I still wanted to give it like windows. And so I'm just going to use a paint pen. I chose like this beachy blue color of my Posca paint pen. And I'm just going to draw a little rectangle on there and just kind of color it in. It's going to be over multiple wood slices. So it's going to be like on 2 or 3. But I'm just trying to space that out, and let's do a 3rd window right up here. I'm just doing rectangular windows just because I thought it would be easier. And then I just want a simple hanger for the back. I actually picked up these little hangers on Amazon. A lot of times I have some left over from the Dollar Tree things that I take apart. But I just wanted a quick little hanger here for the back, and I wanted it to be really sturdy. So I'm actually going to screw that in. I can screw it through the popsicle stick and the driftwood. But first I just need to drill a hole in it, and that is what I did. And I'm just going to screw this in. I found that the popsicle stick did want to split even though I pre-drilled it, but it's probably just because it's a popsicle stick, but I think it's going to be plenty sturdy. I used a little extra hot glue just to make sure on top of my screw. to secure it. And then for like, I think it's called the gallery up here. I'm just going to give a very abstract one with a white paint pen and just kind of draw that on and kind of draw some lines down just to give a little bit of separation in that area. And then I thought it'd be really cute to decorate the base of it. So I'm just using some seashells here from the Dollar Tree. I get these little starfish from Amazon. I love those. Those are in my shop. And then I have a couple little beach finds from when I went to Sanibel Island a few weeks ago. And then I like to do odd numbers. So I think 5 is going to look really good on this. And I just attached them all with a little bit of hot glue. Now, it's not a super large project, but I think it turned out so cute. Now, you wouldn't have to do a hanging one if you had like a wider base, but I think this is going to look really cute. I think I'm going to hang this in my kitchen area of my house. It's definitely going to go with the coastal feel. And I'm really glad that I stained some of that driftwood. I think it gives it so much character. So that is our first Dollar Tree beach DIY. What do you guys think about this one? I hope you love it as much as I do. Okay, for the next DIY, I'm going to use one of their new like charms. These are so pretty. I'm going to use the sea turtle, one of the new Dollar Tree canvases, and then just a plain frame from the Dollar Tree because I want to frame the canvas. I always think they look better like that. And this is such a pretty print. Isn't this so pretty? Somebody posted in our Facebook group, I think they might have put a starfish or a sand dollar on this. I can't really remember. And I loved it. So when my store finally got to a living, I was sure to grab some of these. Now, it almost fits exactly in that frame. That would be great, but I think it would break the frame to force it in there. So let's just go ahead kind of, instead of like a reverse canvas, we are just going to have to cut the canvas off by using a razor blade. I couldn't find my good one, so I'm going to use this one from the Dollar Tree. And yes, I have a Band-Aid on my finger there. I had a little crafting injury making these. Cut myself with scissors. Darn it. And then I am just going to cut these off. This blade is a little lightweight, so getting the corners where it's kind of like doubled up was a little bit tricky. I'm trying to snip it down with scissors if I can. Whatever I can do to avoid having to take all those staples out, because as you can see, they have it stapled down well. Now, since it almost fit in there, I really only need the front part of the canvas, so I don't really have to worry about cutting it on the sides or anything like that. But I just want to free it. It kind of looks like burlap, the color, but it's a canvas, and then it has like all the white coral on there. So pretty. So I'm just kind of using the fold line from the canvas as reference of where to cut it down, and then I could always trim it more because this is probably going to make it just a little bit too big. But I'm so excited to use that sea turtle there. They have those starfish, sea turtles, sand dollars, and a seashell. And they're so pretty that I ordered a second case of them because I love them. And that reminds me, it's in my Dollar Tree. I need to go pick it up. So just testing out the size of my canvas and just kind of trimming it down to make sure it fits. It doesn't have to be perfect because the wood background on this sign actually is pretty close to the same color as the canvas. So I don't think you'll be able to tell if I don't get it cut perfectly. To attach it, I'm going to just simply Mod Podge it down, but I want to do something about the frame first. I don't like the unfinished frame on these signs from the Dollar Tree, so we're going to give it a little makeover with some paint and some stickers. This is the Cloudless Color by Apple Barrel. I get this on Amazon. I have it linked in my Amazon shop below, it's also available at Walmart. Perfect beachy color. It's one of my very favorites. I use it all the time. And the great thing about getting it on Amazon is you can still get it for like 50 or so cents and get it free shipping with Prime. So why not? Anytime I can avoid a trip to Walmart, that is going to be the way I'm going to do it. So I'm just using a little sponge from one of those craft kits at Dollar Tree, I think. And I am just painting the frame. I didn't really want to paint the inside of the frame because that actually has like wood on it, but I was getting some on there, so I'm just gonna kind of go with it, kind of make it look distressed inside. But what I want to do is try to paint that raw wood. It's kind of hard to paint because since it's that like MDF material, not real wood, it really soaks the paint up. But I usually go for a coastal farmhouse vibe, so I'm not going to want it to look perfect anyway. So I just gonna get it the best that I can. And I want to texture it. So I thought some of these stickers from the Dollar Tree would be cute. And I'm lucky enough to find some that were the exact color that I want, the light blue. But if you can't find the exact color that you want, you could always paint them. I've done that before. I'm going to line it up so it actually covers the hole for the hanger. So it kind of serves two purposes there. And I'm trying it first just to use the sticker. They're not really strong, the stickers, but I thought I would at least try it first. And spoiler, on the painted surface, it's just really not strong enough to keep it on there. Some projects like plastic and stuff that I've used these on, it is strong enough, the adhesive on these, but for this, it's freshly painted too, so that might have something to do with it. So I am going to have to hot glue these down, which I didn't really want to do at first, but you know what? I want it to stay on because this piece turned out absolutely gorgeous. It turned out better than I even expected that it could. It was so pretty. But I love this look. It just takes that frame from the Dollar Tree and makes it look so much more high end. I even like the shininess of the blue. So I'm actually going to leave it like that. If you can't find the blue and you want to do the same project, you could always paint yours blue. I think it would still look pretty. You're just going to have to make sure you do a thin coat of hot glue. My Ryobi like shoots out a lot, so you might be able to see the excess hot glue when you paint it. So if you have more of a detail oriented glue gun, I would suggest that so you can get a thinner line there to glue that down. But as you can see, you can just kind of pull these apart, get whatever length you want to customize this, and we are just going to go all the way around. I was really happy that it was able to cover up the hanger on the top of this because instead of a hanging sign, I'm going to make this into a standing sign. I have like little bookcases, I guess, on each side of my TV, and I kind of use them as built-ins since I don't have built-ins in this house, and I love things like this that can sit on the shelves. It looks so pretty. So just finishing up my last row here, and then we can go ahead and attach the canvas, the turtle, and I even make a stand for this. So this was a little bit more of a time-consuming project today. A lot of these were super easy. A couple of them are a little bit more intensive, but you know what? It was worth it because it turned out so pretty. So here is the canvas with all the coral in there. You know, I picked up 2 of this particular one. There's another variety too, but I might have to see if I can get some more. I think I've got enough shore living items, but there's a few items like the message in the bottle, the driftwood wind chime, stuff like that that I have not seen yet in the store. And I just put a coat of Mod Podge down and glue the canvas down inside. And you can see how pretty that looks with a frame. And those like square signs like that from the Dollar Tree, one of my favorite sizes because almost all of the Dollar Tree canvases that are so pretty are the same size. So great way to frame them out. Here is the turtle. I don't need the wood bead garland or the tassel, but I can save those because they're pretty. So I'm just going to trim off my turtle. It's like an unfinished ceramic turtle with a beautiful texture. And since it's white, I think I'm going to leave it white. I do want to fill in the hole there where it was connected to the wood bead garland. And I just do that with a little spackle, which is the same color, texture, as the turtle, so that worked out really well. And I kind of texture it with a little Cricut weeder to kind of give it that dotty feel that the rest of the turtle has, so it's not too obvious that I patched that. Super easy, and then I can just dry it. I like it. I really don't think I need to seal it or anything. I think I can use it as is. And I want it to look like the little sea turtle is swimming past the coral, like under the sea. I think that looks really pretty. We're like right about there. So I'm just going to simply hot glue it as is. I'm not going to do anything else to it. I can't wait to craft with these things. I love them. They're just the perfect size for crafting. So I'm hot gluing it. I want him to kind of look like he's swimming upward there. And even though it's kind of heavy, I think it will stay in place. I got it glued on there pretty well. Now, I told you I wanted to make this a standing sign, so need to figure out a way to do that. I'm thinking just with some Dollar Tree craft wood would be perfect. Really anything that you could find. I want it to be just a tiny bit wider than the canvas, so I'm actually going to cut mine down just a little bit, but just something heavy duty that's going to provide a nice space that's going to be easy to attach to this wood frame. So I just cut this down, give it a light sanding, and I want it to kind of blend in with the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it with the cloudless color to make it match. I'm not going to use any of the stickers or anything on it though. I kind of want to leave that beautiful jewel design just for the border. So I'm just going to paint the top and the sides that you can see there, just to provide a little base, a quick easy way to make like a standing sign. And it should be really easy to attach because I can just glue the frame like right on top of this. So that would paint pretty well. One coat really is all that's necessary. And so I'm just going to dry that real quick and then we can attach it. Isn't this so pretty? I just love how this turned out. So to secure it, I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue on the bottom of the frame here, stand it up on our craft wood, and make sure it stays in place. And I kind of noticed that the outside of my frame, you know, where that like wood kind of soaks up the paint, kind of made it not the greatest. So I'm going to kind of touch up the outsides because I think you might be able to see that with just a little bit more paint. But I want to make sure I don't really get any on the stickers as well. So I'm going to kind of just touch up all the way around anywhere that kind of needed it, including like kind of like that inside edge there where I didn't really want to paint, but I kind of ended up painting a little bit just to make all of the frame blue. And that made it look a lot better because it was a little rough there for a second. But I think that looks absolutely beautiful. Here is the final product, our little sea turtle swimming through a coral. Here is a close-up image so you can see all of the beautiful details on this. You would never guess this was made with just a few items from the Dollar Tree. It really looks high-end and like something that I bought at a home decor store. Isn't that so pretty? I love that sea turtle. I'm going to be using that lots, I'm sure. I'm going to use a wood round from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to start by removing the hanger. I was wondering, you know, if this was going to be thick enough because, you know, these wood rounds from the Dollar Tree tend to be thin, and it was a little bit bowed, as you can tell. It's not really like laying flat. So I thought, oh, the heck with it. I'll just grab another one and we'll put like two of them together. It's going to make a thicker sign. Maybe we'll lose some of that bowing because I want this to be a really durable DIY that I can hang in my home year round. I'm going to use a combination of some of the Dollar Tree wood glue and some of the hot glue. So I do a little wood glue in the middle and then I spread that out and then I just do hot glue around the edges. That way, maybe it'll make it a little bit more permanent. But I try to give it pretty good coverage all around the edges because both of them were kind of bowed. And then I made sure that I lined up the little holes in the top so that I can still attach a hanger. But I'm going to get a thicker wood round for sure. So that's a trick to use the Dollar Tree ones. Then I'm going over the whole sign with some Caribbean blue paint again, and kind of doing like a sloppy coat, and then going over that with a baby wipe like we did before. I want that same kind of beachy vibe, a little bit of the wood grain showing through. And this one was a little rough, so I did have to sand it a little bit. I probably could have done that before. I didn't realize it was so rough. Okay, and we're going to use some of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. We used these in my wind chime DIY video as driftwood. So it gave me the idea that I could make like a driftwood sea creature with this. So we're going to give it a go. I don't know at this point if it was going to work, but I thought, hey, why not? So I put like 3 next to each other, and then I start like doing 2, then I start doing 1. Basically, I want the shape of a crab. I want to do a little like driftwood crab. Now I'm going to need some of the pieces to be cut. So I tried with my miter scissors and I had some success, but it was hard. They're kind of thick for the miter scissors, honestly. And I made like a smaller piece to go in between that one. And I'm just going to kind of, I don't want it to be like such different sizes. So I thought I would fill it in with some half pieces here to make it more gradual, like the shape of the crab. And then we can use the different wood slices to make little crab legs. Crabs have 10 legs, including their like little pincher arms. So I just start like kind of laying that out to see if that's gonna all fit on the wood round, and I think it is. And I do plan to kind of segment those legs to make them look a little bit more crab-like. And so I'm just gonna start by hot gluing on. I'm gonna start here at the bottom. I like how the wood has like a little bit different finishes. I think it definitely gives you that driftwood vibe. Now, if you had driftwood like this, you could totally use that as well. But I love these. I'm finding all kinds of uses, and I use a different version of these wood slices today for another DIY as well. So as you can see, the bottom row was just 1, and then I had like 1.5, and then I had 2, and then I was trying to decide if I wanted to do 2 again, and then I'm like, no, I kind of wanted to be more gradual. So I'll use one of those half pieces that I have to make that more gradual, and I just keep hot gluing on up 1 piece here at a time. I want my crab to be that like, it's almost like a football shape for the body is what I'm wanting, and I don't want all of the smaller ones to be like in the middle on top of each other. I want it to look more random. That's why I put that one over on the left side. So again, I want it to be a little bit more gradual, so I am going to try cutting this again. Sometimes the miter scissors worked on these and sometimes not so much, but it was difficult. Kind of like cutting the little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree with them. But it does work if you really want it to. So I am just going to cut a few more pieces here just to get me that perfect shape I'm looking for. I'm thinking that would be good. And I just kind of keep problem solving 1 piece at a time, putting it together a little bit like a puzzle. And you guys know I usually craft with that driftwood from the not the Dollar Tree, Target. And you could totally do that with this too, but I totally wanted to see if I could make something cool with these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. So look out for these. Even one of my smaller stores had these in stock in the crafter square. So I'm still cutting pieces, trying to make it a little bit more gradual than my like initial setup was there, until I'm happy with it. And then I just keep gluing these on. This was, I think, my son's favorite. I don't know, he had a lot of favorites today because we're going to do a lot of sea creatures, but I think he said this one was his favorite. So I had 2 half pieces left over, and then I was like, yes, I need to segment the legs, so I need to start cutting these down, but I'm tired of using the miter scissors, so I actually did go use my saw, just because I'm going to have to cut so many here. But there, I'm just going to cut them in half and make little segmented legs. I think that's going to make it look way more crab-like than if they were just straight. So I just go and I cut some more in half. So the crab has like 3 legs kind of pointing back usually, and then one set forward and then another set here at the front that has like little pincers, right? So I'm going to go cut some more down. I'm trying to figure out how many I need. I thought if I put 2 together, you could kind of get that like crab pincer look, like that. And then I thought for eyes, we could use some of those little wood beads from the Dollar Tree. I got some of these that are like kind of stained brown. And if you set them up like that, I think they make perfect little crab eyes. Now, I wasn't too happy with like the pincer arms. I thought they needed to be longer. So I decided to go in with the full wood slice for those. And I think that looks even better. Looks like a crab, right? And then I had another half piece, so I might as well use that there at the bottom to kind of finish off the bottom of that crab shape. He's so cute. At first, I didn't think I could pull it off. I didn't think it was really going to look like a crab. And my son's like, well, what else would it be? It's definitely a crab, right? Oh my goodness. And so I'm going to go ahead and just start hot gluing these one at a time. Your girl is beat. I am so tired. Today I was replacing all of the screens in my Florida room, and it was so hot outside, and they needed to be replaced for a while since the hurricane in the fall. And they've been driving me crazy, and so now it's wonderful out there. It's mosquito free. Yay! And it's so nice out there this time of year. And we are expecting a house full of company here in a couple of weeks. So I definitely want to get that room ready. My son's graduating from high school, so we have all kinds of family visiting from the Midwest. We'll have a house full of people. Okay, so we got them all glued down. I'm going to use some of that string that we used from the shelves because I had that left over. That's going to make a perfect little white hanger. You could always use twine or whatever you've got. And again, I just hot glue the ends to make them easier to feed through the holes, especially here that I have to go through 2 signs. I do plan on framing this out, but I definitely need to get the hanger on there first. And sometimes if you still have trouble getting it through there, one of those little Cricut weeders can do the trick to kind of like force it through there if you need. And this one was a little bit easier. Now I'm just going to pull them through and tie them off exactly how long I want them. And then we'll go in and kind of finish off the edges. I always like the wood rounds, but sometimes I like them to have like more of a finished edge. And so for that, I want something else coastal, right? He's so cute. I love this crab. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree white nautical rope. And this is the thick kind, the 6 foot, I think. And we are just going to wrap that all around the edges of our sign. I think it's going to be the perfect, like, final beachy touch to this one. And I think this is going to look great hanging in my home. I have, like, coastal everywhere, and I know you guys are really digging the coastal DIYs. And I'm, like, looking at everything I made, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have enough walls in my house. I'm going to have to get generous. I donate. You guys always ask what I do with all of my DIYs, and I do donate my DIYs that I don't have room for because I just don't. I do have a little bit of seasonal storage from year to year, but my house is just not large enough to store it all because I have made like over 300 videos here on YouTube. So I have made a lot of DIYs. And I love every minute of it. So I'm just doing a bead of hot glue all the way around and securing that white rope. Kind of started at the bottom just so the seam would be down there. And you can kind of like, work with that, kind of glue those little fibers together, let that cool off, and then you can kind of like shape it a little bit to hide the seam a little bit, make it not so obvious. But what do you guys think about my little driftwood crab? I think it's so fun. And I love the beachy blue background. I think that really brings him out. And this is how he turned out. I think my favorite part about him is like his little crab eyes like peeking out. I think that's so cute. And it's another DIY with these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. They seem to go really fast at my store. I know that some of you guys have had trouble finding them too. Be sure to grab them when you see them is my advice. I wish they had them online. Okay, for the next beach DIY, we're going to take one of these Dollar Tree wood plaques and make it into a fun coastal display. I had this idea where I wanted to do a dolphin at sunset. So I'll show you how I put this together. I went ahead and removed the hanger. I like the color of it, but I want it to be just a little bit warmer. So to do that, I'm going to mix some antique wax by Waverly with some water to make a very thin stain. I just want to change it oh so subtly because this is going to be the background for my dolphin. And these signs are a little bit sealed anyway, but Antique Wax by Waverly does a pretty good job of, you know, coloring it a little bit, but I didn't want it to be too dark, not too warm. So I put that all over and use a paper towel to kind of dry that off. I just wanted to tone it down slightly, and that worked well. Now, I designed this great free printable for you guys that I'm going to include in the description of this video, but I also wanted to show you how to use the print and cut feature on your Cricut because I know a lot of you guys have no idea that it's even there. So you click New Project. I'm going to share a PNG file of this dolphin with you. And then you click upload and you're going to upload the image. So I'm going to take you through the steps because it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to go upload and then browse and select the image that I shared with you. You can hit continue. I've already removed the background so you can kind of skip this step in your process. So I'm just going to click apply and continue. And then what you want to choose is a flat graphic. Hit upload and it's going to bring it into your canvas of your design space. Now it's bigger than what will cut on my Cricut Joy Extra. I want it to be as big as I possibly can get it. You can kind of size it, but see how I have the image too large? It also has this auto resize image where it will make it as large as you can make it. Now, when I click make it, it wants to know if I save it. You can save it with a name, you don't have to. Then you get the print and cut feature. So basically, it sends this to your printer and it's going to put some reference marks on there for your cutting machine. So I'm going to send it to my printer, make sure I have the right printer. I printed mine out on cardstock. So while that's printing, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Cardstock is going to be my material for my Cricut. It's just a value cardstock. I think that's going to be fine to cut it out. And then I have it printed out. I put it on a light grip mat. You automatically feed it into the Joy Extra, and I am going to have it cut it. What it does, it goes in and it reads those little black corners that print it out on the image. That's why you have to print through the Cricut design space. And then once it reads that, it will just cut it out. It's going to cut it out perfectly. So it's ready to unload. I have my image here cut out. You could always cut it out yourself, but I wanted to show you the print and cut feature because I know a lot of you guys have asked me if your Cricuts will do it, and even the Cricut Joy Extra will do it. So I'm just peeling off the cardstock. I have a perfectly dolphin size. I thought it'd be really fun to do a dolphin jumping at sunset on a dolphin. I had this image in my head and I wanted to try to see if I could create this. Now, the next challenge is I'm going to need to cut it into slats because the sign is slatted. I think that's going to make it look really cool. So I'm trying to figure out, it fits exactly on this Dollar Tree sign, and I'm going to have to cut it before I glue it. That way I don't tear anything. So I'm just going to use a razor blade and I just lay it right where I want it. Use that groove in the Dollar Tree sign to cut that. My razor blade was not super sharp, so I did have to kind of touch it up with my scissors to make sure that I didn't have any tearing or anything like that visible. For this second section of my dolphin, I am going to have to cut off like the mouth of the dolphin and the tail. And the reason I'm cutting them like this is because that groove in between the slats is rather big. So even if I were to cut it after I would have attached it, I don't think it would have looked very good because I want that line to kind of continue between the boards. So this is a little tricky cutting this small piece off here, but I was able to cut it enough where I was able to cut it down to size. You don't want it to go over, so you might need to trim it a little bit to make sure it doesn't go over the line. And then I have the tail piecelet. I'm going to go ahead and line that up where it's going to be, so I'll know exactly how to cut like the little fluke tail off down here. That way I can attach it in multiple pieces. So basically we have puzzle pieces now. So I had to do that cutting, so I wanted to use the print and cut if I could. It would make it easier to cut the dolphin out, right? I use a coat of Mod Podge. I do the entire board, not just where I'm gluing. That way, it's just going to give me a matte finish. We're going to go further and distress it and seal it to make sure that this kind of becomes part of the sign. And I just do one wood slat at a time, making sure this one is cut down to size perfectly before I put the glue on there. But just another coat of Mod Podge. Definitely want to get it thick enough where I'm putting the cardstock to be able to glue that down. And one reason I love to Mod Podge with cardstock instead of paper is it dries quickly. You don't have to worry about bubbling that you do with like a thinner sheet of paper. So for this section, I have like the mouth of the dolphin and this tail part. And I love this watercolor image I designed. I think it's so pretty. And then for the tail piece, I do the entire board with Mod Podge and then just attach the little fluke to the dolphin tail. I don't do a lot of dolphin crafting, but I love dolphins, so maybe I should do a little bit more. I hope the print and cut tutorial was helpful. I tried to go fast on it so I wouldn't bore people that knew how to do it. So if you need it a little bit slower, you can always slow-mo my video down to 50% or something like that and see exactly the steps that I was doing, but it was pretty easy to do. Now that I have it all down and dry, I can go over it with more Mod Podge. And it's pretty easy. You don't have to wait a long time for the cardstock to dry either. I do want to use a paper towel because I did get like some Mod Podge down in the grooves between the boards. I didn't want that to glue wide or anything like that, so I did try to dry that up. And I want to seal it enough where there's no chance that that paper is coming up and, you know, that it's sealed down really well. Then I'm going to go over everything and distress it. So I'm just using some ivory paint, acrylic paint, and a dry brush, and I'm just distressing all the boards because I want them to look really coastal. So I'm not just distressing the boards, I'm also distressing the dolphin painting to really make it look really cohesive and like it is part of the sign. Now, the distressing is totally optional. It's just whether that's your vibe or not. I love distressing for Coastal Farmhouse. This is the original hanger. I just used the knot in the front. I had cut off one of the knots to be able to get it off and strung it through and just re-knotted it there on the front. And we have a fun dolphin at sunset dolphin sign. I think it's really fun. Definitely take advantage of that print and cut feature if you do have a Cricut. It can be really helpful and save you a lot of cutting, especially with like shapes like this. And look at that clean cut that I got. It looks really professional as well. But I really love the little dolphin at sunset. That's when I usually see dolphins here, is at sunset in the Indian River Lagoon. For the next one, we're going to use some of these little, what are they called? Are they called wall charms? They're like wood beads that have the little ceramic shapes on them. From the Shore Living line and a bamboo ring. So I'm going to use the smaller one. I think that's going to be the perfect size for a wind chime. And I ordered a whole case of these and I love them so much that I ordered another case of them. And I even bought some in the store because I love the pieces on these. They're so cool. I've been using them for other Shore Living DIYs here on my channel. I want to make a wind chime that goes around and kind of cascades. So I want it to go from short to long. I'm going to use the existing wood beads on here because why not? I'm going to cut it a little longer than I wanted though because I do need some twine to work with. And for the first set, I only included 3 beads. So 2 of the white, 1 of the natural, and I'm just tying that off to the bamboo ring. I found that I wasn't giving myself enough twine to work with on this one. I was trying to keep as many beads on the garland as I could, but I probably should have cut a little bit longer because it was a little difficult to tie some of these. So I'm using the same seashell in all of mine since I have a lot of them. I can totally do that. And I'm trying to remember exactly how many I used on this one. Okay, I just went and counted. I used a total of 8. Now, they don't all have to be the same one, but since I have 8 of the seashells, I thought it would be great if they matched. So I cut this one a little longer, 2 beads longer. So instead of 3 beads, this one has 5, right? And I tie that on there. I can always kind of scoot them around depending on how many I end up using. And I want it to look like a spiral going around. So I have 3 beads and then I have 5 beads on the next one. And I'm going to continue that pattern by adding 2 beads to every one. So instead of 5, we're doing 7 on this one. So again, I'm just going to snip it, trying to get better about giving myself a little bit more twine there to make it a little bit easier. And using the wood beads on this, I don't always use this many wood beads on a wind chime, but I really kind of like the way that it looked. It is really kind of elegant, but very coastal. So this one, I thought I cut it long enough and I didn't. But if you don't cut yours long enough, you can always tie some more twine on and use that to tie it off, which is what I ended up doing on that one. And I just want to continue that pattern all the way around. I used 8, but I think I had like maybe 10 there. I just grabbed every single one that I had that was like the seashell one. And I haven't used I think I used the seashell one on one DIY so far. If you haven't seen my other shore living videos, please come check them out. I don't know what's going on this year, but my shore living content is just not cutting it like it normally does. This is usually my busiest time of year, and I don't know if it's YouTube or Dollar Tree or what. But that is my 4th one, so we're halfway around it. And luckily the wood bead garlands were long enough to continue this pattern that I've got going on. I think adding 2 beads to each one definitely gives it enough of a height change. And I'm trying to get better about leaving more twine on there because obviously important, especially when you're going to double tie it on there. Now, the shells are made out of like a resin material that feels like ceramic. So they're kind of heavy, and I found that this wind chime was heavy, so I did have to make sure that I got everything tied on securely because I don't want them falling off. I think if they fell off in my Florida room onto the concrete, they might break because they do feel like ceramic. I'm not really sure exactly how Dollar Tree makes these, but they are beautiful. They have like a great detail on one side of the seashell. They also have starfish, sea turtles. They're so cute. I absolutely love them. And so just tying that one off and 2 longer and continuing that pattern all the way around. I'm really not going to have to do much else to it. It's going to have all of the wood beads on it. It's going to have all of the seashells. And I like the fact that I left like the seashells, just a kind of unfinished white ceramic. I think it really kind of added to the charm. So really the only time-consuming part of this was just cutting them, tying them on there. You don't have to string the beads or even tie the seashells on there. They're already on there. So now that I have them all on there, I think 8 is plenty. Now I need to make a hanger. Again, I'm going to use Dollar Tree twine. A lot of you guys have asked me where I got my twine holder. That is a yarn keeper, and those are from Dollar Tree. I tried to pick up another one. I plan to do a giveaway here soon on my channel, and I'm trying to pick up some of my favorite things like that because it makes working with Dollar Tree twine so easy, and it keeps my twine clean because my work desk can get a little crazy with, you know, drilling and sawing and stuff like that. But as you can see, I'm making the hanger. I just tied it to one end, tied it to the other end, and then crisscrossing and tying it at the top. So just like that. It's going to kind of have an X, and then this one is a little tricky because you want to make sure that it's going to hang level. So before you double tie it, kind of check it, make sure that everything is hanging level. If it's not, you can always kind of readjust where your knot is. But there it is, our little spiral, like cascading wind chime with the wood beads and the seashells. And here's a little close-up view of how it turned out. It's kind of hard to see the spiral shape if you're like this direction underneath of it, since it's hanging up on my ceiling here in the Florida room. You can really see that fun spiral pattern that starts out short, goes all the way around, and ends in a long beaded garland. But it was really easy to put together. I like the natural wood colors of the bamboo ring and the wood beads, and then the white beads really match well with the seashell. So that's how it looks hanging in my Florida room. I want to turn this little wood sign from the Dollar Tree into a really beautiful decorative palm tree. So I kind of want that palm tree trunk shape where, you know, it's like wider at the bottom and it slightly goes up towards the top, giving that cool palm tree shape. And so I thought I could maybe get that with some of these popsicle craft sticks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hot glue this on, and I just make sure that the bottom part is hanging completely off the sign like that, with the top part secured to the sign. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. And I just kind of want to build out the bottom of this. And I wanted something strong for this so that it would give it the same structure that the wood sign is giving it. So popsicle sticks worked out perfectly. Now on this one, I'm just going to glue it side to side with the first one. So this one is kind of completely hanging out over the edges. So I will have to go back and reinforce that a little bit, but I just do a bead of hot glue along the edge and stick it next to the first one. Now I want to continue that slow, gradual bend of the outside of the tree. So I also do a popsicle on each side of the top, kind of continuing the same line from the outside. Now, I think that looks pretty good. I think that's going to work. And I couldn't really find anything that was like shaped like this already, so I just kind of had to make it myself. Now, to reinforce the back, I just cut a popsicle stick in half and hot glue that onto the back to make that a little bit stronger. And we're going to wrap all this in burlap, so you won't be able to see any of that. It's just going to provide a structure. Now, this is the burlap that I'm going to use. This is the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I love this stuff. If you're not lucky enough to find this, you can always use the rolled burlap from Dollar Tree as well. I kind of wanted the wraparound look for mine, so it would kind of have lines and graduations on it. I think that kind of looks like a palm tree, so I just start by hot gluing it to the back and wrapping it around. Now, with the shape being kind of unique, it didn't want to wrap super tight, so I'm just kind of getting it the best I can, and then I'll go back and kind of glue my different layers of burlap together to make it look not so loose. So basically, I want to cover the sign and any of the popsicle sticks that you could see. I cut it, glue it to the back, and also kind of glue it shut along the bottom. And then I'm going to go back and just trim the bottom just to kind of make it look straighter here at the bottom and not kind of a hot mess there. Now, again, the layers were a little bit loose, so I want to glue them. I'm just going to use some tacky glue from Dollar Tree. I thought this would work better than hot glue because the hot glue, you can kind of see it through, burlap sometimes when you use it. So I just do a bead of tacky glue underneath each burlap seam and glue that to the piece before it. And that just kind of made it look a little bit better. Now, I saw a palm tree online that kind of inspired me to make this. I kind of wanted to do my own version of this. And a lot of the ones that I've seen had a lot of shells on the trunk of the tree, but I kind of like the simplicity of just the burlap on the trunk of the tree. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now, for the palm fronds, I wanted something that I could cut that's flexible, that, is going to have a little bit of structure. So I thought one of these placemats from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. Now, mine is green. It doesn't matter what color yours is because you're probably not going to be able to see it. So I just start out by cutting it in half. I wanted this circular shape because I thought I could get nice, like, arching leaves coming down the sides of the palm tree. So I just cut 3 rows out from that because I don't want it to be super wide. And I do that for both sides. What I want to do is have like enough structure to do like 4 leaves for the palm tree, like,
you know, 2 on each side. So then I cut each one of those in half, and it leaves me with these 4 pieces. You know, with it being green like that, it kind of already looks like a palm tree, right? But we're going to take this to a whole another level. Don't worry. So I like it, but I kind of wanted the like ends of the palm fronds to be a little bit more pointed. And so instead of 3, I'm going to kind of make it like 1 row at the tip. So I just kind of cut that gradually up, making it skinnier. That way my palm frond that I'm going to make on there will have like a skinnier tip, like a palm frond would. So I just go ahead and do that on all 4 of these pieces. I think 4 is definitely enough because we're going to kind of build this out. We want plenty of room for our palm fronds that we're going to build on here. So I think that's going to work. Now to build the palm fronds, what am I going to use? I'm going to use a luau skirt. So this is the adult luau skirt from the Dollar Tree. It doesn't matter if you use the adult or the child one. It's just a great source of raffia from the Dollar Tree. And you can usually like take advantage of the fact that it's like tied to a string like that. The pieces are a little too long for what I need it to be. So the little knots on the end really don't do me any good here. But this first palm frond was kind of an experiment because I'd never made one before, so I didn't really know what I'm doing. But by the time I get to the second one, I was a pro with this. So I want like pieces of the grass skirt or raffia to be sticking out on the sides like that. On both sides, you know, kind of like a palm frond. Now, I was starting doing it, gluing it, cutting it like that. And I kind of wanted it to be more like leaning forward than that. Like, they're a little too straight, that first row, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it and kind of keep building from there. But I do want it to kind of be angled down a little bit because that's kind of how palm fronds hang. So the next piece, I just kind of overlap, kind of getting a more down direction on those. And I kind of do the same strategy where I'm just gluing a bundle at a time and trimming it down to size. Now, I was thinking there has to be an easier way to do this. What if I do both sides at once? So what I did is I cut like a bundle that's twice as long, and then I just glued it in the middle like that, and then kind of bending it down so that both sides are kind of like veering down like a palm frond. And I think that's going to work a lot better like that. Now, since I'd already started at the top, only doing one side, I do kind of have to go back and like fill in the area that didn't have anything just by cutting a bundle down to size and hot gluing that to the placemat. And you can already kind of see that like palm frond feel that we're going to get from this. This project turned out so beautiful. I haven't decided where I'm going to display it yet, but I love it. It is definitely a work of art. So I just finished all the way down, and then my camera died, but all I did was trim off the little bit of fabric that I still had at the end. And it's got this nice palm frond shape. I'm going to go in and trim it down, kind of give it more of the shape of a palm frond. And then I don't want it to look like super perfect. I want it to kind of look jagged and like all of the palm fronds are like a little bit different lengths. So I do go back and kind of cut it separately, you know, just to make it look like separate lengths. I also secure some of them down a little bit just to make sure that I really don't want any of the green showing. So I just trim down a little bit more here at the end. And I think that one is ready to go. Now, I do plan to put rope down the center, so you don't have to worry if you have like a lot of hot glue there in the middle. But I think I'll wait until I get all 4 of my palm fronds done before I add the rope. I think that would just be easier. So I told you I was a pro by this point, so I'm just cutting my bundles double length and then cutting multiple at once. So I had this huge pile of palm fronds and gluing them down. Now, that might be a little bit too much to do at once because you do kind of want that angle. So I kind of split that in half. and just do a bead of hot glue down the center of the palm frond. And I'm kind of bending them, as you can see, so they'll kind of fall down. But I'm definitely doing more at a time than I did before. And definitely doing both sides at the same time is the way to do it, because this is kind of a time-consuming process. So you're going to want to try to speed it up as much as you can. So I just keep doing the same thing. I take like 3 or 4 of the little bundles off of the grass skirt and cut them all at once. I'm trimming the excess fabric at the end and finishing that off with a few more pieces of the grass skirt. And then, like I did before, I just kind of cut it down into that palm leaf shape. And then I go back and trim it a little bit just to give it some fun jagged edges. Now, you've watched me make 2 of these, and I have 2 more to make, but I think you've got the gist. So what I do is I'm going to take these, trim them down before, which makes it a little bit easier, just making them a little bit shorter. But I'm going to take both of these and do the same thing to them that I did on the other 2. And this is how they turned out. So we have 4 of the little raffia palm fronds. And don't they look really cool? I'm loving them. So I kind of want to arrange them not super symmetrical. So I'm going to make this one kind of the highest one. And I just attach it to the burlap sign with a little bit of hot glue. I think it has like enough structure to stand up on its own with that placemat under it. This one I'm going to glue down here, kind of slightly overlapping the first one. And then this one is going to go up, but not quite as high as the other side. I don't want it to be symmetrical. And then we'll glue our remaining one down right here. So that's what we have so far. I think it's looking really super cute. This is kind of the structure. I still have the hanger. And everything is kind of standing up all on its own. I was torn about what to use. I thought about using foam board underneath the palm fronds, but I think the placemat worked out perfectly. Now, I told you before that we were going to use rope to go down the center of each one of those. So I'm just using Dollar Tree rope. This is like the thinner brown rope they have at the Dollar Tree. And I just kind of cut it down to size. And we're just going to hot glue down to the center, kind of covering up all the areas that we glued the palm fronds down. It's going to like further secure it too. And it's going to add like just another coastal touch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 4 of our palm fronds. Now for the bottom 2, you could kind of use one piece of rope and go from one to the other. I used 2 pieces, but after I went ahead and put them on, I thought I could have just continued that same rope and went down the other side. So that might be something you might want to try. Or you could do 4 pieces like this. And so we have all of our rope down. I think this provides just another like little texture and a little bit more structure to the piece. And I'm just using my heat gun because you do want to clean up any of the excess hot glue that might be visible. Now I wanted to adorn our palm tree with seashells. So I wanted something like white and tan, something very neutral to go with the color scheme on this. So I picked up 2 bottles of these little shells from the Dollar Tree that are just like a classic shell. They're kind of white with like tan or brown on them, but they're not real patterned or bright or anything. And I start by just gluing 4 to the 4 corners here of our rope. And then I'm going to continue them along each rope all the way down the palm frond and kind of just adorning the palm tree. So I'm doing them kind of with the tip touching the rope is the direction I chose to do them. And I kind of laid them out first so I would know exactly how many would fit. And then just going back and hot gluing those to the raffia, to the little grass skirt, all the way down. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing on all 4 of the palm fronds, laying them out to see how many will fit, and then just hot gluing these on. Now, I said before that I've seen pieces made with like raffia, palm trees made with raffia, and a lot of them use different types of shells to adorn the palm trees. the palm fronds. And that's what I'm doing here, but a lot of them completely cover the, the tree part as well with shells. And I think that would look really pretty too. But I kind of liked it with just the shells on the palm frond. So that is what we're going to do here. But if you decide to make yours with shells on the trunk, you'll have to be sure to log on to my Facebook group and share it with everybody because I would love to see it. Now, where I overlapped the leaves, it was a little tight in a few areas. So I do trim that up just a little bit so it's just not sticking out a lot there. And we have all of our little seashells glued to this project. What do you guys think about this DIY? I think it's so fun. Has a great structure. It has a hanger already. It is ready to go to hang in my house. And this is how it turned out. Our little Dollar Tree raffia palm tree. I love it. I love all the different textures. We've got rope, we've got the raffia, we've got seashells, and we've got burlap. The colors, I think, all go really nicely together too. What do you guys think about this DIY? I think it's really fun.
I chose 3 of the chunky signs from Dollar Tree. I did get different ones just for variety, and they're kind of big. So what we're going to do is just cut these in half. And I want to do a like hanging beach sign, but I want it to look like 5 random different color, different size piece of boards for the background. And then we're going to make our letters with Dollar Tree rope. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and measure about halfway and cut this in half. They're nice, really thick signs, but they're a little too big for what we need them for. So I just cut that in half. I'm going to use that as a guide here on the other 2. And they have these like in brown, a black color. I chose the white ones just because it would be easier to paint them, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of whichever ones you can find. And so on these 2, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them exactly the same, about halfway. And I'm also going to cut their height when I'm done with them too. So I only need 5 of the 6 because we're going to spell out the word beach. And I'm also using a 5-gallon paint stick there from Walmart. So I've kind of mixed up the 2 slat, 3 slat ones because I wanted to look random, right? So I kind of put them number 1, number 4. I'm going to actually take both of those and just cut down one side of those to make it a little bit shorter. And then flip one upside down again to make it a little bit more random. Now for this one, I'm going to cut a little off the top and the bottom to make that one the smallest one. And then I'm going to leave the other 2 as is. I think my saw might need a new blade. It's kind of cutting up the wood, but I actually kind of like the distressed for this project. Has anybody ever changed a blade on a like electric miter saw before? I wonder if it's hard. And I'm just going to paint them different colors. So I want them to look beachy. The first one, I'm just using Cloudless by Apple Barrel. It's a real light beachy blue. And just doing one sloppy coat. I want it to look distressed. That way some of the white paint will show through. And then this is Apple Barrel Key West. It's kind of got like a little bit more of a green tint to it. I thought that was really pretty. So we're going to do that on number 3 and number 5. And then I'm going to leave the second one ivory, just white, just how it is. That way it looks really random, even though the signs kind of all started out looking the same. Then I just use a sanding block, and as you can see, I'm just sanding along the edges. It's gonna make the edges white. It's gonna kind of bring that paint out from underneath of it and also distress it a little bit, which is that coastal farmhouse vibe that I'm going for. So I do that on all 4 edges, on all of these, to kind of give them that rustic beach look. I am going to distress them a little bit more too, just to kind of go with that. So I do that to all of them. I really kind of like that vibe of the white and then like the sanded edge. To distress them further, I'm just using a little antique wax by Waverly and a dry brush, and we're going to very lightly distress this just to bring some of the brown distressing through. I get kind of some of that in the ones that I cut. but I want to kind of add to it a little bit. And the one that I'm leaving like white kind of already has a distress, but I'll add a little bit more kind of to all the edges, but I am trying to like work in like kind of one direction. And don't worry if you're distressing. If you get too much on there, just have like a baby wipe handy. It's really easy to clean that up and it dries really quickly. Now I'm going to put them all together, and I needed something long. So I'm using a 5-gallon paint stir from Walmart. These come like in a 3-pack for like $2 and something. They're a great size for crafting. And I just cut off the handle because it was a little bit too long. And then I just used my staple gun, and I actually had to kind of switch to some longer staples to be able to go through that ruler and securely attach it to that chunky sign. Usually I need like the short staples for Dollar Tree items, but this is nice and heavy duty. So they all looked pretty good except for that one. So I just replaced that one, and we have a nice sturdy sign. You can make this like a standing sign, but I'm gonna make mine hanging. So to do that, I just take some Dollar Tree twine, and we're just gonna double knot that to make sure it doesn't slide through. And then like on the second one, I'm just gonna use my staple gun to attach that to the back. And you could always use rope if you wanted like a chunkier rope handle, but I think that this is gonna be fine. So I just tie another double knot just because the twine's really small, and staple that to the back. And we have a perfect blank for beach. Now, I really love like the rope beach words at Dollar Tree, but I know some of you guys can't find them, so I'm going to show you how I made my own. So I'm using the 9.5-foot brown rope, but anything you can find. I find that the thinner one works a little bit better for letters because it's easier to move around. And I'm going to try to cut as less as possible. So I'm going to start with my middle one because that is my smallest block, right? And I'm going to fill up most of that with a letter, and we're spelling out the word beach, so we're going to have an A here. And since this is my first letter, I really don't have anything to go with, so just kind of free styling this one. It looks like I need to cut it down a little bit because it's a little bit longer on the right side than the left side. And then just hot glue this on. You're going to want to use hot glue everywhere the rope is. You're not going to want any of that to pull away, especially like on a hanging sign like this, and for it to keep the shape to spell out letters. And we're just going to do capital block letters really easy. Cutting down a smaller piece for the center of the letter. Make sure you hold the piece you're cutting when you cut that. Otherwise, it can unravel, and you don't want that to happen. It happens really easily on the short pieces of rope. Now that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and measure it for reference, so I'll kind of know how big to make my next letter. It looks like it's about 2¼ inches wide, and I can start here on my E. Again, I'm going to try to cut the rope as little as possible, so I will use that same piece of rope for the top, the side, and the bottom. I just kind of went ahead and sketched it on so that I can see exactly where I need to be and try to keep it in measurement. Now, this is a bigger block, and the letter looks a lot bigger. I don't know if I measured it wrong or if it just appears a little bit bigger than the A, but it's okay. They're all supposed to look random anyway. So just working on one section at a time, I put hot glue on the line. So sketching it out with a pencil can be a really good idea, especially if you're doing like cursive and stuff like that, something a little bit tricky. But this is pretty easy to do, just the capital letters. So there is this middle section of my E. I did have to cut a separate piece for that. And I tried to smush it a little bit because it looked like it was a little bit bigger, but again, that's okay. So here is the letter C. That one's going to be really easy. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to size, one piece. But I am going to kind of give me some reference points for how tall it should be. So I have kind of a guide to go through. And then I'm just going to do like part of the C at a time. Like the top half and then the bottom half. And I didn't really need to sketch that one out. That was pretty easy. And then I'm going to use that same size as guidelines to make a B. So I kind of put dots how long the B needs to go out to be the right width. And then I just start on the left side. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here because it's a little too thick to bend back really easily there. And so I am just going to hot glue that right there into the middle of the bee. And then I'm going to have to do the top part of the bee separately. I guess I could have started here, but, and again, I don't want doubled up rope right here. So I'm actually going to cut it about halfway and kind of cut it at a diagonal so it'll kind of blend in a little bit more and it won't be super thick right there where the bee comes together. One more letter, we have an H, super easy. Now that I know the dimensions and it's a nice easy letter. I do have to cut it into 3 pieces just because that's how the letter is shaped. And I really love how this sign came together. I think it was really easy. It's real sturdy. This is a piece that you could definitely sell if you wanted. Very high quality and definitely coastal, like something that you could find in a beach shop for your house. This is how it turned out. I really like the varying colors of blue, and I don't know where I'm gonna put this. It's pretty cute. Maybe in my bedroom. I really like it. We're gonna use one of these. Dollar Tree calls it a sunburst. It kind of looks a little bit like a mushroom coral. It's really pretty though. It comes in all different colors. I don't need a hanger on it because I'm going to make mine into a candle holder. So I'm just going to try to take the hanger off without causing too much damage back here. I love the color of this one. It comes in a couple different colors of blue, silver, and gold, I believe. And I like this color. I want my candlestick to be this color, so this one is going to be perfect. So not too much damage. And then this is the candlestick that I'm going to use. These are new at Dollar Tree. I found mine with like the Mother's Day stuff, like in a little special section. And they had them in a couple different sizes. So I have some spray paint that's sea glass, and it is almost the same exact shade of blue that that shell is. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray paint the gold candlestick so it will match and kind of blend into that fun little sunburst wall hanging. I've got a whole bunch of those and I'm trying to figure out what to do with them, but this actually worked pretty well. So I'm just going to do a quick paint job on this. It didn't take too much to turn that gold into blue. Just trying to make sure that I got everything covered on that. And I'm also going to kind of spray paint the back of that where I caused a little damage when I removed the hanger. Easy peasy. Now I have to figure out a way to put this all together. You know, metal projects are often really hard to glue together. So I'll show you what I came up with to get it to stay together. Hopefully it will be secure. Hot glue and metal doesn't always play nicely together. So I wanted to try something else. So I need something to put in the candlestick. And so I thought one of these little tiny wood cubes from the Dollar Tree would work well. And so the first thing I'm going to do is attach it to my shell with some E6000. And so I will have to let this part dry on its own to make that nice and sturdy. Now the wood cube itself though, I'm going to try to glue in the candlestick holder, if that makes sense. So I kind of just need to fill up the well of my candlestick here with some hot glue. And then I'm just going to put the wood cube down inside, hoping and that secures everything, and it seems like it did. Isn't that a really pretty piece? I think it looks really coastal, and I thought that the leaves on the candlestick that I chose would kind of look a little bit like seaweed. Now for the candle, this is the Shore Living candle, and I don't know, I got this the other day at Dollar Tree, but I didn't necessarily see it at any of my other Dollar Trees. So I don't know if it was still left over from last year or what, but you could use whatever candle you have. A pillar would be really nice for this size candle holder. And this has like a really cool like spiral pattern on the outside, if you remember it from last year, and you can't really see it because it's like white on white, right? So I'm going to paint mine just a little distressing with some light blue acrylic and a sponge to bring out that cool print. It's kind of like a little bit like an ammonite, like a little ancient sea creature kind of design on there. It's pretty cool, and I think this will make it kind of pop on that beautiful candle holder that we just made for it. So I just kind of dragged that over with a sponge, wiping off any excess paint. I don't want it to be like super painted. I just kind of want it to be like distressed with the blue bringing out that beautiful pattern on the candle. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and peel the paper off the bottom and put it on there. And I do think it looks like seaweed. I think it looks pretty cool, but I thought maybe I could add a little bit more seaweed to it to take up the little seaweed feel of it. So it's got like 2 leaves going up, and this is some of the shore living greenery they have this year. This one piece here really looks kind of like coral, like seaweed. So I'm just going to cut off a piece of that and attach that to the base of the candlestick too, to really make it look cool. So just trying to make sure I get it the right size. I'm just going to hot glue that in place. It is pretty lightweight, so I think it will stay. And I'm just going to hot glue it to the base like that, so it kind of goes up in the front of the candlestick with those other leaves behind it. It looks really coastal and cool. So just a dot of hot glue will secure that there. And that's basically all there is to it. This DIY was really fun to do. A little challenging with the metal, but we were able to get it to work. And this is how it turned out. So you can see that cool design on the candle. That like shell shape works really well for the base of the candle holder. I think it will catch any wax if I burn it. And the seaweed looks cool too. And I really love that color. I think it's really beautiful. And a beachy bluish green color. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to get really creative. I picked up one of these wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. These are great for DIY projects, and they're just plain wood boards, but they're nice and thick. There's no bowing or anything like that, and they're ready to paint or stain for whatever kind of project you want to make. I just need one of these today because I want to make like a long, skinny sign. And for it, I want a very abstract, like ocean or intercoastal scene. So I'm going to use a couple colors of blue that are really close together. This one is Caribbean blue, and the other one is cloudless. As you can see, I just did like the Caribbean blue for the water. I'm doing cloudless for the sky. And then I just kind of blend in between. I want it to be just a foggy day where you can't really tell the difference between the ocean and the sky. Just something really abstract. It looks like the ocean, but it's not going to take away from all the cute stuff we're going to do on the front of this sign. Now I just need to make a simple hanger because I want this to be a hanging sign. This is the Walmart twine. It's a little bit thicker than the twine from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to feed that from the back of the sign, knotting it into the front to make a simple hanger for this. And we're also going to be using a lot of twine to try to recreate like a dock scene on here with some of that driftwood that I found at the beach. Now, if you don't have a source for driftwood, you can always use sticks or whatever you can find locally in your area. And it would be a really similar result. Now for the bottom here, there's also holes in the bottom. So what I'm going to do is feed it in the other direction, knotting it on the back like that, and that gives me some twine to start with our project. Now, this is the driftwood that I found. I tried to choose pieces that were about the same diameter, and what I wanted to do is I want it to look like a dock with like nautical pilings that we can have like little shorebirds sitting on. So I'm going to take some of that driftwood and I'm just going to cut it down into some little poles like this with flat tops and, you know, flat bottoms if I can get it, just by using my saw to cut different pieces until I'm happy with it. And I kind of like that some of them are irregular shape. That kind of adds to the appeal. I take my twine and I wrap it around it a couple of times to represent like the rope and the poles at the dock. And then what I'm going to do is just secure this in place by hot gluing the twine to the back of the driftwood so that stays in place. And then I'm also going to secure it to the sign itself by gluing the twine down. I want it to look like it's kind of like three-dimensional with the perspective of the dock like heading out. And so I take my next piece and then wrap twine around it a couple of times as well to make sure that it's really good and secure. Gluing that in place. I glue the twine. I also glue it to the sign. And then back here, I mean, I'm not going to go really far out. I mean, if you had like a longer sign, you could take it out even further. But I'm going to have it start kind of like wrapping back around to the front, so we can finish with that final hole we have in the shelf sign. So I take advantage of all the holes in the signs for the hanger and for the dock itself. This I just represented with like a straight line going straight across with the twine before I wrapped it and glued it. And then here is my fourth and final piece. I think 4 is plenty for this size sign. And again, I just glue the twine to the wood and then glue the twine actually to the sign too, because I want to make sure everything stays in place. This is going to be hanging on the wall. And then I just kind of cut the twine that I have left there long enough that I can feed it through. If you find that you're having trouble getting it through, if you put a little hot glue on the end, it's going to help feed that through. And then I just simply knot it on the back. So we have the setup for the dock scene. I think it looks really cute so far. And I'm going to add a little bit of extra hot glue behind some of the pieces of driftwood just to kind of reinforce things, but I don't want to have any glue there where you can see it. Now for the shorebirds, what I'm going to use is some of the Dollar Tree sea glass. This comes in all different shades mixed together. There's like 2 different colors of blue, there's like a white, and there's a green. I want like the clear or the white ones to represent my shorebirds. And I am selectively trying to pick out some pieces that I think will make good birds. Sometimes, well, usually they have like a flat side that makes it a little bit easier to attach it. But I'm also trying to look for shapes that kind of remind me in an abstract way of a shorebird. They're very irregular shaped already, so that definitely helps. And I want them all to be about the same scale. So I selected 4 pieces of the white clear sea glass. I think those will be great shorebirds. Now let me show you how I'm going to go about making them shorebirds. First, I want to kind of arrange them. What's going to be like the head and like beak area of the bird, and what's going to be the tail. And I thought that if I painted the back of them, that flat side that I was telling you about white, it's going to make them look a little bit brighter and pop against that blue a little bit better, just to kind of reflect off the back because they are kind of clearish. And then it's just a matter of arranging these. I want them to have legs, so what I'm going to do is kind of draw them on with a fine tipped Sharpie marker. Super easy to draw bird legs, like they're just like little kind of like stick figures for the legs. And you kind of have to decide where you want your bird to stand, and then you'll know exactly where you need to put your little legs. And we're just going to draw them on there. Super easy. And we're also going to add just a few more features to the sea glass to make them look like birds as well. And this was such a fun project. I know a lot of people sell like sea glass art like this, and I can see why. I think it's so cute. I also used that fine tip Sharpie to draw a little dot on each one of them for an eye, about where I think an eye would be, where I think their head would be. And then also on the sign itself, I'm just going to use an orange Sharpie to draw on a little orange beak that's going to kind of peek out from behind the sea glass. So really the only thing I can attach to the sea glass itself is the eye. The rest of it, I'm just doing it on the background sign. And then it's just a matter of hot gluing each one down right where they should go to make them look like little birds. Isn't that so cute? I think this is such a fun idea. Everything was from the Dollar Tree except for the driftwood, which was free from the beach. And it was so easy to put together and very whimsical. Isn't that cute? You could do so many different things with the sea glass. I've used it a lot in DIYs, but I haven't used it to make like sea glass art like this before. And this is one of my favorite beach DIYs. I think it is just so whimsical and fun. And they really do kind of look like birds. Especially that one there on the left. I think that's my favorite one. Very fun, very coastal, and I hope you enjoyed this DIY. So this is one of the shore living baskets from Dollar Tree. I think they have these in the regular aisle too. Might just be a different color, but I really like this one. It's got like the little leather tab on there, and it's a great size. And I thought it'd make a great beach terrarium. So I'm going to fill up most of the body of the basket with just some of those foam rings from Dollar Tree. Circles just to fill up some bulk space so I won't have to use as much sand. And then I just use one package of the tan sand, which fills it up nicely. You don't want it too full because the basket's a little bit wobbly. Now for the greenery, I'm going to be using fake plants today, but if you have a green thumb, you can definitely use real ones. This came in a little pot. I think it kind of looks like an air plant that I picked up at Dollar Tree. The driftwood is from Target. You can just use whatever you've got. I just wanted a little bit of driftwood in here for a little bit of a rustic beach touch. Now, the starfish I got on Temu, you can like kind of use whatever you have. And my new seashell, I just got at Sanibel. I did post a picture of my Sanibel Island like haul. I got so many shells. I was a little short on time because I could have gotten so many more. There were so many at the lighthouse. I was in heaven. But one more seashell, and that's all there is to it. We have our first beach terrarium. I told you that some of these were going to be really easy, and even though it's really easy, it turned out really beautiful. So here's a little close-up view of our first beach terrarium. Very cute. You can use kind of whatever you have. Seashells, driftwood, starfish, sand dollars. Just use your imagination. But you just want to add a little bit of greenery in there to make it look like a terrarium. This project is so cute, but it's also so funny. So I wanted to do a mermaid project. So I'm going to use one of these little mermaid tails from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. And a couple pieces of driftwood, a Dollar Tree sign, a couple of seashells from Dollar Tree, and some little wooden clothespins that I got at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. And we're going to make a mermaid clothesline. So I saw somebody make something kind of similar, but I thought I would do my own take on it and see if we can make this with supplies from the Dollar Tree. So this is it's a pretty nice square sign from the Dollar Tree. It's not real heavy duty, but I wanted a standing sign that could sit on a shelf. It does have this little bump out part on it though. That's the only bad thing I don't like about these signs from the Dollar Tree. And so I'm going to use a little heat and start getting that off. I don't really want to rip like the sign that's behind it because I want to be able to recover that. I want to use some of that removable wallpaper there that you see in that beautiful tropical print. That's my favorite one of the removable wallpapers from Dollar Tree. Now, as you can see, this was like glued on for real. So I'm going to get it wet. And then I'm just going to use my little scraping tool from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree to scrape it off. Kind of working one section at a time, but the water definitely worked. And I did have like one little nick in it, but I just go and fill it in with a little bit of spackle because I want to make sure that you don't like have any imperfections in this because I wanted just to be able to peel and stick that wallpaper right on. So I'm just going to put a little spackle in that hole. And now I'm not going to paint it or anything first. You can kind of see this pattern, like the laundry room part through it, but not really because we're going to add stuff to it. So before putting stuff on there, I could kind of see it, but not really. So I'm just going to sit that bottom up there on my removable wallpaper, draw out the shape, and just cut out a front panel for my sign. Now, I don't want that wild print that's going on that sign to be visible, so I'm going to cut stickers for all four sides as well. And I kind of do two at a time because
Those two sides are definitely going to be the same size, but I wasn't sure about the other way around. Dollar Tree signs can be a little bit inconsistent. And just cutting those little side panels down. And basically, we're just going to peel and stick this entire sign with that tropical wallpaper. I thought that would be a really good background for what we're going to do for a Little Mermaid's clothesline. What I want to do is I want it to look like a mermaid has hung up her clothes on a clothesline. And so she's going to hang up her tail and she's going to hang up her little shell bra. So this was really fun to put together. And I know, I don't know if a mermaid takes their tail off, do they? But mine's going to. So I cut off a strip for all 4 sides and just kind of laid them on there. I did a pretty good job of getting them on there straight and to size, but you can always trim it down if you need to. And now we can peel and stick the front. And I love using this removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree. It's a great way to take a Dollar Tree sign like this and make it look way more high-end. And look at that, I didn't even have to paint it, right? I am going to use a little bit of a scraper though, because there was a little bit of air trapped in mine, just to give me a flat surface so that it is good and secured all the way around. Now for the clothesline, I just grabbed a couple more pieces of driftwood that I have from the beach. You could always use sticks for this as well. And I want it to be long enough to go to the bottom because these signs don't stand up very well. But if I had this in the front as additional support, I think it's going to help the signs stand up a little bit more just because they're not very heavy. So what I'm going to do is just cut both my pieces of driftwood down a little bit so they'll have flat bottoms. And that's going to help in standing the sign up. So I wanted to do 1 piece of driftwood on each side of our little clothesline. And then I'm going to use just Dollar Tree twine to form the clothesline. So I'm going to start by attaching that to my clothesline or to the pole first. Just by knotting the twine on there and tying that off. And it's actually going to be a line that goes from one post to the other that we can literally hang the stuff on there with the clothespin. So that's super cute that they kind of dangle on there. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this side since I have it tied off just by using hot glue all the way up. And this project, every now and then, I make a project that really makes me smile, and this is definitely one of those. It's not only beautiful, it's just so funny. So I'm going to pull my twine around, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to do the front or the back. I decided to go around the front to kind of make it stick out a little bit more, kind of like before when we were doing those pilings for the shorebirds. And I want to tie it where it'll be taut right across. So then I double tie that, cut off the excess twine. And now it's just a matter of attaching the driftwood to the other side to make the other side of our clothesline. So I'm just going to attach that with hot glue too. And now we can start working on our mermaid outfit. I'm gonna make the tail look a little bit more textured, and then I wanted to make the little shell bra as well. Now there's already a great little texture like drawn on it, so I'm going to kind of go with that. I do fill in the hole with a little spackle, and then I'm using my Surebonder, like my fine tipped hot glue gun from Walmart, to just draw the little mermaid scales on there with hot glue. My Ryobi one it releases way too much glue to do a fine detail like this. But basically that's going to set up and give it the texture of a mermaid tail. So I just go over all the existing lines on there and just fill that up with hot glue. Now for this tail fin part, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do hot glue and make it wide too, like the little stripes here are here on the tail. And just cover that whole section with hot glue. And to make it wider, I just had to kind of go in there and do another row right next to it. And then you're going to want to use your hot glue, your heat gun or blow dryer to get rid of any of the little strings, because once you paint it, you'll be able to see it. But look at that really cool texture that's on our little mermaid tail. Now, I picked out 2 little white shells that were about the same size to make a cute little shell bra for our mermaid. And then I'm just going to use clothespins. I think I'm only going to need like 2 clothespins to hang these up. They do have smaller clothespins than this at the Dollar Tree that you can get on the little photo holder that's kind of like macrame, if you know what I mean. But they're colorful and I kind of wanted mine to be more neutral. So I just take a piece of twine and hot glue that into both sides, kind of like where bikini straps would be for this mermaid. And then I take a second piece of twine and glue that along the bottom, like the straps of a bikini would be on the bottom. So it has like, you could tie it around the neck, you could tie it around the back kind of thing. Now this has set up enough for me to paint it. So I'm just going in here with, this is like a parchment color. It's kind of between like an ivory and a white. And I use a brush so I can kind of get in all those different areas since we gave it that great texture. And then I kind of wanted a little bit more texture to be seen. So I'm just going to kind of go over all of the scales that I put on there with just a little dark tan color here. I'm not going to leave it quite that colorful. I just wanted a little bit of distressing. You could also do this with Antique Wax by Waverly and kind of wipe off any of the excess. And I didn't really want it to be quite that brown, so then I go back and distress it with that same parchment color that we used before. It's kind of the same color as our the shells that I chose for the little mermaid bikini top. And so the tail can hang on that side and the little top can hang over here. I was trying to decide exactly how to hang the top. I'm just going to kind of hang it, I think, by one of the little straps, kind of like hang it sideways. And then use a clothespin here. I'm going to clothespin our little mermaid tail to the clothesline. Super cute. And then I do put a little hot glue underneath the clothespin to secure that in place because it's holding that whole mermaid tail up. I'm not going to attach the mermaid tail at all to the sign. And then I'm going to use a clothespin on this side and clothespin like the line to it. Kind of like that. And I hot glue that little clothespin down as well, but the rest of it's just going to kind of dangle down like this. That one piece of twine is a little long, so I do trim that one up a little bit so it doesn't like kind of overlap the side of the sign. And then I also kind of glue that down, but kind of like make it look like it's kind of free flowing just so it doesn't like really stick out from the project. And kind of have the other ones just kind of dangle down like that. And this is our little mermaid clothesline. I think it turned out really cute. I'm a big fan. And the little sticks on the front definitely help it to stand up better.
And it seems like Dollar Tree has quit carrying my very favorite wallpaper, which is this tropical print. So you know what? I will try to scan this in on my printer and see if I could share it with you as a free printable. I will try because I love that background and I know I haven't been able to find that wallpaper in Dollar Tree in a little while. Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do a mini like beach wreath. I'm going to start with one of the green foam wreath forms from the Dollar Tree and some of the nautical rope. Again, I'm trying to use like you have to like match up the length on them so that you get the same exact rope when you're doing a project like this where you want it to all be the same. And just removing the tape from the end, we're going to cover this with rope to make it look like a life preserver. So this is kind of a different way of wrapping the wreaths with rope without going through it because that can be quite daunting, wrapping it through it. And this way was actually way easier. So I start by hot gluing it to the green foam. You don't have to cover the back of it, I guess, unless you want to. You're not going to be able to see it back there. So why do it? So I'm just doing enough to make it just flat. That's why I'm laying it down, just to make sure that I'm getting it in the right place as I'm gluing the rope on. I did about halfway around until I kind of got a feel of where I needed to start. And then I can just keep hot gluing this around. And we're going to cover it just doing rings. So once I get all the way around, I just continue with the same piece of rope and just keep hot gluing this on. I did go ahead and remove the tape from the end, so I'd be ready to start and stop whenever I run out of rope. I chose the thicker rope that I could find because it's going to be less times going around, but again, you're going to get a lot shorter length on it. So either one would look good, but that was my strategy on this one. So I have 3 packages and I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough, but I actually did. So I start and stop here. And I'm going to start and stop in the same place. That way I can hide it because I told you I'm going to kind of make it look like a life preserver. So there's going to be 4 areas that are going to be wrapped with rope. And I just continue this, hot gluing this all the way around, trying to keep it tight with the rope next to it because I don't want any of that green foam wreath to show through. I wish they had this wreath form in a larger size at Dollar Tree because I find the size can be a little restrictive. It's not as big as I like for a wreath, but I think it's going to make a really cute little mini wreath. And I wanted something to display the Dollar Tree Shore Living Mermaid tag sign on. So this is going to provide a great background. So this is my 3rd package of that rope, and I just continue on. What I want to do is cover the inside of the ring. And again, you don't have to do the back. You just need enough for everything that's going to be visible from the front. But since I've already started with this package of rope, and it's going to be close to the right length that I need, I just kind of go with it and just keep lining the inside. And so as you can see, the back of it is still going to be a green foam wreath, but that's totally fine. So I went ahead and used all of the rope, and I kind of made my seam here the same place I made all of my other seams, right there at the bottom. Once I got it all on there, just like the planter, you just have to burn off your fuzzies because this Dollar Tree rope can be a little rough. You can try trimming it off with scissors too, but a lighter does a pretty good job of getting all of those little stray hairs and stuff that you see there and just making it look a lot better. I've made a lot of like life buoy or life preserver wreaths, and I've never made one like this with ropes, and I think it turned out really cute. So for the other section, I'm going to use some of the thinner brown rope just because that's what I had. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to start my seam area because I definitely know that I want to have it wrapped here. And I just start by hot gluing it to the back. And then as you can see, this is like the traditional like kind of wrapping method that you need if you're going to wrap a wreath where you have to take the whole package of rope through. And I do that 4 times to provide 4 loops like that. I think that's plenty wide enough. Then I'm just going to glue this down, cut this here on the back. And that's going to be the first part. You could also do this with fabric if you wanted. And, you know, you could do the whole wreath form with the white nautical rope if that's the look you're going for, if that's a rope that you can find. And you can even mix up the 2 ropes together. I've done that a lot in DIYs where I've mixed the white nautical and the brown rope together. And they look really good together, especially for coastal DIYs. So I just went straight across and did the same thing, wrapping the rope around 4 times and hot gluing the ends to the back of my wreath form. And then I can do the other 2 sides. Since I have those really centered out, it's going to be super easy to figure out where to put these. And just continuing the same thing until I have my little rope life preserver. And I thought this would be just a really cute like little coastal background. Again, we're going to be doing a little mermaid tag sign, and I was trying to figure out what would be something cute to attach that to. That's a little bit more substantial because the little tag signs are actually pretty small. Just finishing off my last side here. Just working straight across on the other side. No need to measure or anything like that. You can kind of eyeball it. And I think it looks pretty cute. What do you guys think? I liked that method of wrapping the wreath form. It's a lot easier, I think. I just burning off my fuzzies on that part of my rope as well. And I think I'll hang it like straight up and down like this. I like that look. And here is the little mermaid shore living tag that I was talking about. I was going to have both, the welcome and that, but it was too big together. So we're just going to do the mermaid one. They also had these like in flip-flops and maybe a beach chair. I can't remember. And I'm just painting the tag sign, this Cloudless by Apple Barrel acrylic paint, and just using a brush so I can get in all these tiny spaces behind the mermaid, because of course it's like glued on there. And I want to do like a blue background, beachy blue, with a white mermaid on the front that's going to kind of pop against that blue color. But it's inevitable, you're going to get blue paint on the mermaid. But that's okay because I want it to be distressed anyway. So that's going to give me a great background. So I just make sure I get pretty good coverage, at least one coat of blue all over everything on my tag sign. And make sure that I don't really have any paint pooling up around the sides of the mermaid as well. And for the white, I'm going to use kind of an ivory color. It's this antique parchment color. And I just want to paint the mermaid, and then I want to distress everything. Now, I've been searching for the makeup sponges from Dollar Tree forever, and they are just not getting them in. So I actually found some on Amazon that were pretty inexpensive as well. So that's a good backup source for these, because these work great for painting. And I just put the makeup sponge in the paint and kind of swab that on top of my mermaid, trying to paint this and not everything else. But I like the fact that I painted it blue first because some of that blue paint shows through the ivory. But it did take a couple of coats to get good coverage because I only want a little bit of the blue showing through just to make the ivory part look distressed. Then I just do like a dry brush technique on the blue with the ivory to give that coastal farmhouse distressing that I love so much. And don't worry if you get too much on there, you can just use a baby wipe to kind of remove that, blend it in. Distressing these pieces is probably the easiest part because you can't mess up. That looks cute. I think that looks really nice. We can attach it to our rope life buoy wreath here, and I just cut a large piece of twine, and I'm going to do this all in one go. You could do this separately if you wanted. Basically, I wanted a hanger, but I also wanted a hanger for my tag sign. So I just kind of looped that around, tied it off, so I have like a giant circle now to make a hanger. And then I want to use like half of it for the hanger for the tag sign. And I kind of wish I would have done it in two parts because it just kind of got confusing here for me. But I tied a knot there, wrapped that around like that. And I want them to meet at the top, so I kind of tied mine off again. That way I have a hanger and I have a loop for my mermaid. I kind of decide where I want my mermaid to hang, and then I just tie it one more time to my original hanger up there. And then I'm going to tie it here on the back, secure that one piece down. I don't really need all of that length. Trimming that off, and now I have a hanger and a tag hanger for my mermaid sign. And I think it's really coastal. You could use this just about anywhere. It'd be really cute on, maybe I'll put it on the door to my guest room. That would be a really fun little welcome life buoy. But just an idea of what to do with those little tag signs. I know sometimes you can get stuck on what you're going to DIY those with, and I think this made a great backdrop for it, and it's just the right size with that small green foam wreath form. This is the relax and unwind signs, and I want to just kind of make a box with them. I always try to find creative ways that I can use these signs, and I thought I could make a planter with these. Now, they're not as small as I think they've been in the past. I think they're a little bit bigger, so it's going to make a pretty significant planter. But I'm going to need 5 pieces, 4 sides and 1 bottom. So relax and unwind. And so I'm going to I think I'm going to do the sand dollar on the front. I think that looks really pretty. But you could kind of pick your favorite word if you wanted to. I am just trying to get all of those pesky staples out of the back of the sign. I don't want to leave any of them on there if I can avoid it. Okay, they're all clean and ready to go. And then I wanted to still say relax and unwind, but we're going to have it kind of do that by wrapping it around the planter box. I did notice some of the paper kind of went over the edges of some of them. So I just tried to clean it up a little bit. Really easy to do with a sanding sponge, just to get any of that excess paper off. But I wanted to go relax and unwind and wrap like all the way around it. And then I'm going to do the end on the back as well with the other sand dollar that we have. So that's the reason why I picked up 2 sets of these signs. These are the new ones this year, but this would really work with any of the ones. Every year it seems they change these a little bit. And I'm using my square from the Dollar Tree to help me keep square on this, which is really important. I start with the first corner just by gluing the end and gluing it here to form a perfect 90-degree angle. That's not a super strong bond though, because the signs are pretty thin. They're solid, but they're thin. So I thought I'm probably going to have to reinforce that a little bit. And so I like to do that with the little tiny Jenga blocks from Dollar Tree. I think they work really well to make little braces, and you can kind of put them where they're out of the way. I'm going to start by gluing one right here. You're going to be gluing like the flat side to one side and the skinny side to the other. So on the bottom piece, I kind of alternate which one's going which way, if that makes sense. And I made that one flush all the way with the bottom, and then that can help us attach the bottom of the box when we get there. Now for the next side, I'm going to go ahead and start with my Jenga block to help me on a little bit. I can glue that and the side, and I'm going to go on and glue it 90 degrees just like I did the other side. And I already have the bottom piece on there, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my second brace in. I'm doing it a little bit from the top so that you can't see that from the top of the planter box. And we're going to make a really fun beachy seahorse themed floral arrangement with these. Now for this side, I'm just going to go ahead and attach all 4 blocks. So I attach 2 sideways and 2 on their edge there. And then that's going to help me glue everything together. I'm going to try to do it all in one shot by attaching the 4th sign, which is the other sign there to the back. So the other sand dollar. So it still says relax and unwind. And then I guess the other way it says unwind and relax. But that looks pretty good. I have it flipped upside down, and now I can just choose any of the signs. It doesn't matter. I'm going to have the unfinished side on the bottom just because that kind of makes sense to me. And put some glue on all 4 of my Jenga blocks and on the 2 edges that it's going to overlap. It's only going to overlap 2 edges just because of the way I kind of constructed it. I am going to go ahead and frame that out a little bit though. That's going to make it a little bit more level in the bottom, but it's actually kind of fine like that. But that's what our planter box looks like at this point. It's super cute. I'm just going to give it a quick touch up here, make sure none of that paper is overlapping it, and we can keep decorating this. Now for foam, I'm just going to use Dollar Tree foam in there. It is a big box, but I think we can make it work. And I'm going to use some of the short living greenery. I tried to choose the ones with seahorses and the ones that have the green stems, not the brown stems. I ordered a whole case of those online too. I was lucky enough to find some of my stores as well with the short living line this year. Hopefully you were. And I just cut one of the long pieces down. I still need a little bit more though, and so I'm going to have to use part of another one to fill this up. They're going to be kind of shallow in there, but I think it's going to be okay. I don't think I really need to lift up the foam or anything since my box is so big there. Then I want to kind of frame it out. I probably should have done this before the foam, but I just wanted to use some rope along the tops to kind of give it a finished edge on the planter box. And I'm also going to run some rope along the bottom, which is going to kind of level out the bottom. If you remember before, not all of like the sides kind of match up down there. And so I'm going to start on the top. So I just do a bead of hot glue along that top of that sign and start the rope by gluing one side down at a time. And I'm going to do that all the way around, just continuing that same piece. It's going to kind of give you rounded corners, but that's better than cutting and having to cut it and have all these loose edges. But I just do that one all the way around, and I really think that it helped give it a more finished edge there for the top of the planter box. And now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. There's kind of a lip here on the seahorse side for the way that I kind of built it. The front and the back is a little bit skinnier than the sides, and because I didn't do any like miter corners or anything like that. And then I can run this piece along the front sign, or I guess the side sign. This went across the front in that little lip, and then I'm going to continue that all the way around on the fourth side to finish this off, and it just gives it another little coastal touch. So that looks good. Just make sure all of your rope is glued down. You don't want any of that coming off. I made sure like my ends there are in the back, so they're not in the front. They're not super obvious. And I think that looks pretty good. So we can start filling it up, our little relax and unwind. Isn't it so cute? I really think that took it up a notch. Now the greenery, I'm going to use a little bit of moss. I have some of this like green reindeer moss. That looks great. Kind of looks like seaweed. I don't need a lot, just a little bit to cover the foam. And the most challenging part of this was just probably cutting the stickers off the greenery. But I really liked this one. I didn't have as many of this one as I have some of the others. But I think it's really cool. So I'm going to try to scatter those out. I have 3 of those, so I can do like 1 in each corner and then center kind of 1 there in the back. And since this is such a large planter box, I don't have to cut these down in size or anything like that. I can just place them right in there. So some of this greenery doesn't have seahorses on it. Some of them do. Some of them have seashells on them. So these are the ones with the seahorses. They're super cute. I want the seahorses to be visible, so I'm going to do them in the front. And I'm going to have one kind of taller than the other one, and then kind of have them like looking at each other like that, kind of stagger them a little bit. And then I'm going to save the seahorses off these because I kind of need the greenery, and I can always reuse those. I love using those in DIYs. Those little seahorses are so cute. I've actually did a resin project with those a couple months ago, and they turned out so adorable with the little seahorses sticking out of the resin. So I think that looks pretty good, but you know what? I think it needs a little bit more. It's, a big box. So I'm going to do 2 more of the seahorse picks, but again, I'm removing the seahorses and just using that for the greenery to help fill it out a little bit. And we're going to do like another one here in the front and maybe another one here in the back. I love these. They had these last year at Dollar Tree too, so I did have some left over, but again, I bought a whole case of these because I can use these year round with my coastal crafting. They are so cute, and the little seahorses are just adorable. But I did want to add a little bit of color, so I'm going to try adding some of this blue willow. I don't know if this is new or not. It's the first time I've ever gotten it, but it's really kind of messy, so be careful when you start working with it. The little things, like little pieces like to fall off on it. But what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of blue coral here and there just to bring in a little bit more color, because that Shore Living greenery, all of it's all kind of the different shades of green. They're all pretty close. And I just wanted it to have a little bit of blue to bring out the seahorses on there. So I'm just cutting 1. I ended up only using 1. And I did like all 4 corners with some of the blue coral. And then I'm going to leave the last piece here in the middle taller. Since it's the very center, it can definitely be a taller piece, but maybe not that tall. So I'm going to cut this one down a little bit here before I place it back in there. And I was still wanting like a little bit more blue color even after I added the blue coral like that. So I think I'm going to try to paint the seahorses a little bit too to help them pop instead of that like white dusty color. I'm just going to distress them a little bit with this color. It's called Key West, and it's really pretty shade of blue by Apple Barrel. And as you can see, I'm only distressing it, just bringing out little parts of the seahorse to kind of match that blue coral that we added to it. And I'm going to do the same thing here with my second one. And I think that really made them kind of stick out and stand out a little bit more than just kind of blend into the greenery like they did before. So here it is, our little DIY planter box. It's a nice large coastal display. You could put this just about anywhere. I think you would hold up fairly well on a porch if you had like a covered porch or something like that. I think I'm going to use mine inside, like in my entryway area. I think I have the perfect spot for this. But as you can see, it turned out super cute. This is how it looks all together. I really hope you enjoyed this DIY. Now for the next DIY, we're going to use a sea turtle glass sign. I used the seahorse ones in a previous video to make a lantern, and they turned out so cute. So I wanted to see if I could kind of use this as more of a sign, but give it some character. The first thing I do is just remove the twine from the top because I want this to be a standing sign. I like the fact that the sea turtle is on glass. I think that's super cute, but I don't really appreciate the white plastic frame, so we're going to add some color to that. And I'm just going to use some craft wood from the Dollar Tree. I had a scrap piece that's just the right length, and that's going to be a great base for the sign. Since it is a glass sea turtle, you could always put like a candle or something behind this. It would be really pretty. I'm just going to make a simple kind of see-through sign. Now, painting the plastic frame is a little bit challenging. I'm going to start here. I'm just using Caribbean blue, and I'm just using a sponge and just lightly dragging that on the plastic. Another option you could do is to like Mod Podge it first, because you really just need something for the acrylic paint to stick to. And the plastic, it doesn't really want to stick to, as you can see. It's just looking like a very light blue distress, but that's okay. If we do several layers, we can finally get that blue. I wanted to add definitely some more color to that. So I just did a very thin coat, dried it, and then I just keep going over it with more thin coats until I get it bluer and bluer. And I'm so glad that I added the color to it. I think it made it look a lot better, because the frame itself is not the greatest. I think the glass is too big to fit in another frame though, because I did think about that. But I thought we could try to make it work. I'm going to use that same Caribbean blue color here. I think that's Caribbean blue by Delta, and paint the top and the sides of that scrap wood piece, because I want to try to make it match the frame as much as I can. So that's what the frame looks like with 2 coats. It's still not super blue, so I'm going to go over it here with a 3rd coat. And I'm doing all 4 sides, but I'm only doing like the edges, the top, and the 2 sides, because I don't really want to put any paint on the bottom. I'm going to use that area to attach it to this sign. And so I went over the base with another coat of that Caribbean blue as well to bring out the color. And I thought it still wasn't quite as blue as I wanted, so I think this is like a 4th coat. So be prepared. If you're going to paint the plastic frame, it is going to take quite a few coats. If you don't use Mod Podge, I probably should have. But I think that looks good. It's definitely as blue as I'd like, and it's starting to match the wood, the actual wood that we painted blue. I want them to coordinate with each other. Now for the base, I wanted to give a little bit of texture to the sides because they are not great. And then I remembered I did not paint the back of it, so I'm going to paint the back of it as well. That way I can wrap some of that burlap trim all the way around it. This is the one that I'm going to hot glue on. It is like the wavy burlap trim, kind of reminded me of ocean waves. And I'm just going to go all the way around the base, all 4 sides, just hot gluing that on. It's going to give it a little bit of character and texture. And the sides are not made out of great wood, so that kind of helps make it look better. Now it's just a matter of putting this together. They're almost exactly the same size. I just do a bead of hot glue along the bottom of the frame and then just sit it here on my base to make a standing sign. I've been looking for lots of ways to DIY with these because I bought a whole case of them. I think they're really pretty, but here it is, my sea turtle one We made it into a standing sign. Again, it would look pretty with light behind it, but it kind of looks pretty on its own. I think these would look really nice too if you had a window or a little area to hang them to get some outdoor light through them as well. But it was definitely a quick, easy little DIY, and I love that gorgeous sea turtle there on the glass. Okay, for the next one, let's try a sea glass candle. So I picked up this candle holder from the Dollar Tree. Some of my stores have this in the Shore Living line. Some of them haven't in just like the regular candle section. But it's kind of an iridescent blue, just a very light tinted candle jar. And then I picked up some Dollar Tree sea glass. My stores really have this in stock right now, a lot. So I stocked up. What I want to do is see if I can make the sea glass shine through the outside of my DIY candle, right? Now, this comes in like a royal blue, a green, not my favorite colors, but I think combined with that beautiful blue candle that we were melting, that's going to soften it up a little bit. Now, I want it to stick to the side. So as you can see, I'm just hot gluing it to it. Most of these little sea glass pieces from the Dollar Tree have a really flat side. That's the side that I'm trying to attach. And I'm trying to kind of alternate some of the bigger pieces first, kind of alternating that dark blue and that dark green. And then I can go in and kind of fill in the other areas with the other pieces. Now, I didn't really know if I should use like, you know, that light blue and the clear ones. I did in the end. I don't know if you can really see them. I don't know if they will expose themselves at all while I'm burning the candle. I don't know. But I did the best I could. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put some on the bottom too, because why not? And then I'm going to use the wick again from the other blue candle that we just melted on the stove. Add that to the bottom. Cover that up with a few rocks or sea glass to weigh that down. Add a popsicle stick for my wick to keep it centered and where it should be. And this is the other like light blue candle that I melted down, and I'm just going to fill it up. Not too full. Took almost the entire candle. And just try to make sure that I still have my wick where I want it to be, and I let it set up. And this is how it looks, that beautiful light blue color. Now, I would say it was kind of a success, because you can see the sea glass through, but a lot of the wax kind of went in the like little different voids of the sea glass. But I think it's still fun, that iridescent blue candle holder, that pretty blue candle, and then like sea glass like peeking out. Now, to display it, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree like flat circular candle holders. That will hold the heat really nicely. And then to bring out the fact that this is a sea glass candle, let's use more of that Dollar Tree sea glass. And I am just spreading that around, trying to vary like the colors and the size, make it kind of random. But I want to fill up that entire tray to really bring out the fact that this is a sea glass candle, since you can't see the sea glass really well. You can only kind of see it a little bit, but it was still really fun to make. So there it is, our sea glass candle DIY. I was trying to use all different, you know, items that you might find at the beach, like sea glass. And this is how it turned out. It was kind of hard to photograph, but you can see the little sea glass pieces like peeking out. So I think combined with the sea glass there on the outside, it really kind of shows you what it's about. But the candle holder is really pretty, and it was a really fun, easy DIY to try. Here is how it looks lit up. I'm going to use the beach word and show you how I use it in today's DIY.
Okay, our next DIY, I'm going to use a thrift flip sign with some Shore Living items. I got this half price at Goodwill, so it was like $2.50. The reason that I'm using a thrift flip sign and not a Dollar Tree sign is because I am going to make this sign for my Florida room, like my back porch of my house. Some of you guys have been asking for some more outdoor beach DIYs, so I thought we would do a couple here. Now, I kind of love the color of this sign, and it's kind of the perfect size. I just need to like cover up the writing that's on there. I have a turquoise color that's pretty close, but I figure I better go ahead and paint over all those words with white first, because I definitely need to block that out, that white writing. before we can go in and kind of make our own sign. I love the inspiration though, the blue with the white. I just go over it with some white acrylic until it is hard to read that writing through. I think that's going to mask it pretty good if I now go over it with that turquoise color. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I kind of do like a very rough coat. I don't really care if you can see a little bit of the white shining through. It's going to look distressed, and you know I'm going to go back and distress this thing anyway. But I do go ahead and put one coat on and give that a dry to see if it covered all of that writing. And it did a pretty good job, but I thought I'd better touch up just here and there just to make sure. And then I want to have like a fun, like on beach time sign, using some of that rope beach from the Dollar Tree and one of their little wall charms. So this is the rope beach word, and then I'm going to use some of those wood letters from the Dollar Tree to spell out. I'm going to have it say on beach time. I think that would be really cute. Make a fun little coastal sign for my back porch. Now, the little rope beach does have like hangers on the back, and I don't really need that. So I'm just going to use my screwdriver to remove those little brackets so that I can glue that down to my sign. I don't normally decorate my flirtarium too much because I get frustrated because I have to take down everything for the hurricanes. And so I'm going to break down and do it. But I have a great flirtarium. My husband is super creative, and he took like a 9-foot piece of driftwood that he found on the beach and turned it into a light fixture. He also built my furniture out there, and it's really fun. I love my flirtarium. I'll have to give you a tour of it sometime. So I just burnt the fuzzies off my beach, and it did kind of burn some of the ends, so I had to trim that down. Now, one of you guys gave me a tip. It's easier to paint these letters by using some painter's tape. So I thought I would try it, kind of keep them from all like sliding around, and it actually worked out really well, I think. And so I want to paint these white so they'll kind of pop against that blue background that we did on the sign. I love the white on the blue for a coastal sign. And that does work pretty well, huh? I just use a foam brush and paint those white. Now I do want them to look slightly distressed, so I do distress them a little bit. But those are the wood letters that they are from the Crafter Square. You get 26 in a package, so you get one of every letter. For the distress, I just do a very light distress with just a little bit of antique wax by Waverly and a dry brush to kind of give it that same distress that you see on the white seashell there for the wall charm that we're going to use to kind of make those match. And this is the wall charm. I don't really need the wood beads, the hanger, or the tassel on there, so I can save them for something else. I'm just going to pull those off the back and remove the staplers with a pair of pliers. So here is our coastal sign. I love it. It did a great job covering it. I do want like a little bit more distress though. So I am going to go in here with some ivory and just kind of distress it slightly all in one direction. I just think that gives it so much more character. Now it's time to start putting this sign together. I want like the shell on the left, beach kind of in the middle, spelling out on top, and then time underneath. So I'm just going to start gluing things down. With the wood letters, I want to try to not use too much hot glue. I don't want any of that to really seep out. Just get them on there as straight as possible. Quick, easy way to do lettering on your signs without having to break out your Cricut. And then I'm going to glue down the word beach because I removed the bracket on the back. A great way to get rope letters. They have beach, the word love, and there's another word too. I can't remember what it was. Beach was my favorite though, so I picked up a couple of these. So I glue that one right there in the middle. And now we have to just secure the last word of our sign for time. I'm going to kind of start in the middle and kind of line these up. Since that top word was like 2 letters, I'm going to kind of line that one up with the middle of that one and kind of work from there. That way the spacing is fairly good. And I think that's so cute. The only thing we have left to attach is the wood shell. These wall charms are fantastic. I've used these for the wind chime in my last video, and I think they're so fun. I think the colors really work together on this, and I'm just gonna kind of try to remove a little bit of hot glue from the beach sign that you could see on there from how they put it together, but here it is, our on beach time sign. I think this is gonna look so cute out on my Florida room. What do you guys think about this one? It's a little brighter than the blues I normally do, but I think it's gonna look good out there because I have a little bit more of a tropical vibe. And I have like a light blue curtains all over my Florida room, so I think this is gonna contrast nicely. And I think it will definitely hold up under the elements outside.
But I love the tropical blue and a great thrifted sign. I always like to thrift a sign when I can. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. For the next DIY, we're going to use one of the wooden seahorse signs from the Dollar Tree.
And 2 of these wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. These are like the thicker, chunkier ones that are really skinny. You could use any kind of rectangular sign. I liked this one because I like that wood finish on there. And I like the fact that it already has holes where the rope hangs the little shelves. And I have a plan to use those. I don't want to use like the existing rope that's on there though. It's a little too thick. I need to be able to get a couple through the holes. And so I'm just going to go ahead, cut all of that rope off and just keep the 2 signs that we're going to put together. And I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree twine to do this. I had an idea that it would be really cool to do like a fishing net, and I didn't really have anything that would work, so I thought we could try to make our own, right? So this is the twine from the Dollar Tree that I'm using. It is not the super thin one, but it's pretty small. The first step is just a bead of hot glue all along one of the shelves to glue the 2 together. They're nice and thick. They glue together really well. You don't really have to reinforce it at all. And then I want to start stringing this Dollar Tree twine through so we can start building a fishing net. I've done like kind of smaller scale fishing nets. I've never really done anything quite this big, but I did go online to kind of figure out how to make one, so that's fun. So I'm just going to feed it through all of the holes here on top just because they're there. You don't necessarily have to go through those middle ones. And then I cut it long enough that I can just tie it here at the top, and then we're also going to have a hanger. So that works. Now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have went through the middle holes because on the bottom, I do have to remove those to do the final step in this DIY and kind of replace it. But I do need it there temporarily, so I guess it's going to work. So we have our ropes at the top and the bottom. And then we also need ropes to go along like each side of our sign. And it does make it easier if you put a little bit of hot glue and shape the end if you're going to be feeding it through the holes, especially when there's already a twine through that hole. So I fed it through that top and I just go all the way behind it because I've already got like twine going through. That way I can do both sides. So I go through the bottom on that side and go through the bottom on this side. Again, the hot glue is a great trick. I don't know, one of you guys told me about that. And then I'm just going to tie it off on the back like we did before. So we have twine all the way around, and now we can start with the fishing net. So I just kind of pinch a piece in half, and I'm just kind of estimating how long I'm going to need it to be because I know there's going to be lots of knots. I probably should have went a little longer because it was closer at the end. But basically, I just fold it in half like that. loop it around the very top and pull it tight like that. So we have two of the twine pieces hanging off there, and I kind of try to center it a little bit because we're also going to be going in with another one here and looping that through as well. And so now we have like 4 rows of twine. I try to tape it down a little bit just to kind of make it easier because there's going to be like pulling and tying to try to get this. But basically you take one from each side, and then you're going to do, I think it's called an overhand knot, where you just grab both of them and tie it in a knot together and pull it tight. And that is a way that they make the fishing nets. Now on the sides, it's a little bit different because you've only got one piece going on the side. So what I did is I just tied that on there, just a simple knot. About the same, I'm trying to make a row. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side as well. And we have like our first row of like triangles. Now I take this one, and I'm going to do an I think it was called an overhand knot. I need to look that up again. And then I take the other two and do the same. And so now see, we have like the 2 triangles there. And now we can take the 2 middle ones again and tie off another row, trying to keep my, little diamonds about the same shape. And then I take my side piece and tie it on the side again. And then we're going to go on the other side and complete another row. So you can probably get the feel for it. My painter's tape was not like doing the best holding it down. I tried to tape it down with something a little stronger. So we're going to do the 2 on the left. And I don't know if my string was not quite tight enough because I did find it kind of going in on the sides a little bit more than I'd like. But I'll show you how I fix that. I'm going to do the middle one, and then we're going to tie off both sides again to complete another row. And we're going to keep doing that until we get all the way to the bottom. As you can see, I started getting a little short on a twine. I didn't know if I was going to have enough, but I did in the end. And so I'm just going to kind of try to space it out until I can get to the bottom, and I just tie that off on the bottom, kind of in that same diamond shape. Now, since it did seem like it was kind of warped, I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue to stretch that back out and give me that full fishing net pattern that we're looking for. But isn't that cool? I thought that would be a cool way to try to display the little seahorse for this sign. So I just kind of space that out, glue it down on both sides, and I think that the little seahorse will fit inside the net just fine. I want to make it look like the little seahorse is like trapped inside the fishing net, if you know what I mean. So kind of like peeking out a little bit. That's when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to slide it in because I did use those center holes there at the bottom, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and remove them. And then I can replace it after I am done putting it through there. So looks like it's going to fit in there. And so now we just need to paint it. I kind of want it just to be like a plain beachy coastal blue seahorse. And so I'm going to be working on the back of it where it doesn't have like the wood burning on it. That way I don't have to cover any of that up. So all you got to do is remove the tag and the hanger. I'm mixing a couple colors together, Caribbean blue and ivory, to give me this really soft blue beachy color. I love that color. And you know, the raw wood from Dollar Tree is so easy to paint. So we're just going to go all over with the blue. One coat is definitely plenty. And then I do want to distress it a little bit. So after I dry it, I'm going to go in with a chunky brush and some ivory and just kind of distress, like working in one direction to give it that coastal farmhouse vibe. And if you get a little bit too much on there, you can follow that up with a baby wipe. You can go back in with like your original color. Just kind of distress it to your liking. I don't want to do a lot of details on this because it's going to be kind of behind the detail that we already made, which was the fishing net. So I think just a little bit of color is really all that it needs. Okay, I think it's ready to go. We can slide this inside the fishing net now. So I go in from the bottom and just kind of work it all the way up until the little seahorse is peeking out from behind. So it fits in there just perfectly on the size shelf. It really worked out well. But I do have to replace the bottom twine to hold it in place. So I just come in from one corner, tie that back off where I had it kind of tied before. It's okay if there's more than one knot there. And then tie it off on the back. My camera died there for a second. And then kind of like pull it down around the tail to secure that in place. And then the top of the seahorse is kind of like peeking out from the top as well. But isn't that cool? I thought that was really fun. This is definitely an original idea. I've never seen this anywhere. And I take some of the Dollar Tree twine, the thinner one, and I'm just going to do a very simple little finger bow just to cover up that little hole in the top. And I really don't want any other details with this. I think this is perfect as is.
It is a little seahorse. He accidentally got caught in a fishing net, but don't worry, we're gonna let him free, right?
And this is how it looks hanging in my home. I love this. I think this is something that I can display year-round in my coastal house.
And really, coastal is year-round. Definitely in my home. I don't know about yours. I know a lot of people just do it for summer, but I wanted to keep bringing you some coastal DIYs.
Okay, you guys remember these? We're using them again because I wanted to make another sign, and I love making my own signs with these shells from the Dollar Tree because you can make a sign exactly the size that you want. You don't have to cover up any like old Dollar Tree sign with glitter and stuff on there. You know what I'm talking about? So this one is going to be a little smaller than the seahorse sign, and so I'm only going to need 2 of them. These have a nice wood grain too. Now, I just bought some more of these today at Dollar Tree, and they're that plain raw wood that you usually get at the Crafter Square. But I'm totally digging the wood grain. I wish I could find more of those. I'm sure I can. I've been finding these pretty consistently at all of my Dollar Trees. Now, this one I wanted to go lighter, so I'm using the Caribbean blue acrylic, but I'm mixing it half and half with white to give me that soft beachy blue. I love that. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of paint both boards, but I don't want full coverage. I want like some of that wood showing through. And we're going to make another coastal beach creature sign. This one turned out so cute. I made this initially to go outside, but you know what? I think I might be able to use this inside because it's adorable. So I got them both painted. I was waiting on my heat gun to get hot, or my hot glue gun to get hot, and I just went ahead and painted them first, and now we're just going to hot glue the 2 together. Just an easy sign. Now on this one, I'm going to make a sea turtle. So I'm going to use this rope from the Dollar Tree. This is the thinner brown rope, and I thought we could do like a rope sea turtle on the sign and use another one of the wood slices from the Dollar Tree for its shell. So this was really fun. It was a little experimental, but it totally turned out. You know, I'm not going to miss an opportunity to make a sea turtle because I love a sea turtle. So I kind of cut off enough rope. I think that's going to make the outer shell, and it is a little fuzzy, so I'm just going to burn off any of the fibers that are sticking out there just with a lighter. And then I'm going to kind of start in this corner and kind of do like the pointy shape of like a sea turtle tail back here. I don't actually make the sea turtle tail separately. I just kind of point it back there just to make it a little bit easier. And then I want like the sea turtle shell to go up and then come down and point there at the tail. So I just go ahead and glue down the tail part first. And then it's a little tricky to get this to lay out how I want it. So I'm kind of just gluing one part at a time. I glue the top of its shell right there. And then I can kind of work my way down and glue around the right side of the shell there. And I kind of wanted it at an angle like this because I want it to look like the little sea turtle is swimming. So we got that all glued down. And then I want to go in and do like a inner ring here to kind of give it a little bit more definition. So I'm going to need enough rope to go around it and loop again. That's going to kind of give it the tail shape, but it's also going to give it just a little bit more structure around the edges. I do want like some of the blue to shine through though, through it, like his tail's going to look blue there. And like his like flippers and head will look blue because that's like what's underneath of the rope. But that's cool. That's kind of what I wanted. So leaving like a little 1/2 inch border around the outside of the shell, I'm just going in again and doing a separate ring like that. Now it's time to make little sea turtle flippers. So I just cut down some rope about the size of a sea turtle little flipper. And using hot glue, we're just kind of try to create that shape here in the back. Over on the side of the tail and do the back flippers. Now when I cut that one down, I cut a second one the same size so that they would be about the same length. I didn't give myself quite as much room over here for this flipper, but I think it's gonna fit, but just barely. And if it needs to hang off, it can just look like it's swimming, it's fine. But I did the blue background because I wanted it to look like it's swimming kind of in the ocean, right? So we're gonna do the same thing here on the front of our sea turtle. I cut down 2 more pieces of rope and then just using hot glue to get that shape. You could also use like the wired jute from the Dollar Tree, but it's gonna be thinner. And I kind of wanted this all to be like made out of the same kind of rope. That rope can be a little bit messy. I have to keep kind of dropping the fibers out of it because I want to make sure that doesn't get glued down. And whenever you're doing a sea turtle flipper, you just kind of want to get it that little pointy look. And that kind of makes it look like a sea turtle flipper. When we went to, when we went to the Virgin Islands, we went to, I think it was called Coral World, and my son and I got to go swim with the sea turtle in this like pool on the ocean, like a adult sea turtle, and we got to touch it and pet it and do all these things. It was like the fundraiser to save sea turtles because normally that's not a thing that you get to do, and it was amazing. Okay, so these are the wood slices we're going to try to use for the shells. I thought since these were round, these would be perfect for like little scoots for the back of the seashell so we could do like a little pattern. Now, I didn't really plan this out first. Maybe I should have, but I got pretty lucky about them fitting in here. I'm just trying to see how many I can fit in there, and I think that looks pretty good. So I think we came out pretty good, but it's kind of like a puzzle. You got to get it to fit. You might want to lay those out first and kind of draw on your lines. But it worked. Now, these wood slices are from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to attach them all to my turtle with hot glue, kind of trying to work a little bit in rows. Some of the rows are going to be a little bit curved, though. If you can't find these at your Dollar Tree, I think it would be pretty easy to make this with like any kind of a larger dowel or maybe even like a plunger handle from the Dollar Tree if you were to cut it down into slices. You might need to stain it a little bit though to get like this beautiful finish. These are already kind of stained, right? And just hot gluing them all down. And now we have our little turtle shell. Now, I thought it looked a little plain. It needed something, right? So I had that grass skirt left over from our seahorse DIY. And I thought, ooh, yeah, he needs like some seagrass that it looks like he's swimming through. So we're going to use that grass skirt to kind of simulate seagrass. So again, I just pulled the knot off the twine of the grass skirt. And we're going to make some seagrass kind of come up the side of him like that. And it always looks good when you kind of cut it like random heights too. I don't want to cover up the shape of the sea turtle. I want it to look like he's in front of the sea turtle. So like on this one, I'm going to cut it off when it gets to like his fin. And then I can always go in and continue that on the other side. Now I do use like a little bit of hot glue to kind of secure those so they'll stand straight up and stick to the sign and not like, you know, kind of fall over. It's not too sturdy. But I do still also want it up a little bit, a little 3D. So there, I just cut off another piece. So that's like that piece continuing from before, but like it's behind the sea turtle. And I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to kind of continue this all around to try to make it look, you know, like he has a nice background. I do like that I didn't paint all of the wood. So like I do have a little bit of that wood coming through too. I think that is a nice coastal touch. So we have like 3 groups of like seaweed over there. And then we can also do some over here. And again, when I cut them, sometimes I cut some of them short, some of them long. And I kind of just do like a couple tiny dots of hot glue to kind of keep them in place and make them go exactly where I want them to. That one's going to need to be really short. This one here, short as well. And then I'm kind of want to fill this in a little bit just to make it look consistent. And I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put a little bit more over here. And I'm loving him. I'm not going to make a hanger for him because I was planning on putting him outside. But you know what? Maybe I need to put a hanger on him. Because outside I'm going to have to drill into the side of the wall. I don't know where I'm going to put him. But isn't he cute? Is there a little wood slice and rope sea turtle? Everything is from the Dollar Tree. And aren't those little wood slices beautiful? They seem to come in the round ones, like the slices. The ones that are a little bit different might look cute too. Any kind of pattern that you can give to the back of the sea turtle would be really fun and creative. And I think this was fun. Okay, let's make over or improve, I guess, this little Dollar Tree sign. It says 2 less fish in the sea. These are a nice size coastal sign. And again, I don't know why, but there's glitter all over it. If glitter bothers you like it bothers me, we're going to tone it down just like we did with a little seahorse. So the first thing I do is I found this worked the best on the seahorse was going over it with the white paint pen. And that's exactly what I do. Just kind of spell it out. 2 less fish in the sea. I noticed a lot of things this year with the shore living line, like the new sailboats and stuff like that. They did a really good job of not putting any glitter on them. I also don't really like the little mirrored fish on this, so I'll show you how I hack this Dollar Tree sign, make it look really cute and coastal. Once I got that all painted, I'm going to distress all over with some ivory paint, just to kind of make it look less like a printed paper and more like a hand-painted sign. Follow that up with just a baby wipe and gave it a nice coastal farmhouse distress. And then I'm going to go over all of that glitter again with some matte Mod Podge, just in case any of it was shining through along the edges of my paint. Because we're not going to have any glitter on this project. Just not going to happen, Dollar Tree. I also distress it with a little antique wax by Waverly. It's going to give a little bit of character to those letters as well. Kind of gives it a driftwood feel. I had a similar sign, I think in my last video, that I kind of hacked similarly. It was a different, one of the different signs, but what I did with that one is I kind of feathered like the ivory all along the edges like this to kind of cover up the brown wood, just to brighten it up a little bit. And I really like that feathered edge. It was really easy to do. And I think it goes with the vibe of the sign a little bit better. So I just did that around all the edges and gave that a quick dry. Now for the little mirrored fish. I'm going to use, I think this is like lake blue is the color, and a makeup sponge. And we're just going to kind of carefully paint our little mirrored starfish blue kind of in one direction like that. It does kind of give a little bit of brush stroke in there, even though I was using a sponge. So after drying that, I do go in with another coat to kind of fill that in a little bit more. And then I also want it to look coastal, so I distress it slightly with a little ivory. It just made the sign look way more coastal to me. I'm going to replace the hanger that it came with some of this Dollar Tree wood bead garland. This is the cube shape. It would be cute with whatever you have. But I thought that would be a fun little touch. The cube shape is probably my least favorite, but that's probably why I used it, was just to try to get rid of it. But it does have a great string that's real tiny that you can tie on there for your hanger. And there is our little Dollar Tree hack sign to lost fish in the sea. I think we took a sign that could be a little tacky and tried to make it look more coastal by getting rid of all of that glitter, making it look hand painted. Okay, next DIY. You guys have been asking me to come up with something for the mermaid wreath tail. So I'm going to make this actually for my Florida room. So I want to do it fun. I found this great burlap at the Shore Living Line 2, which is the mermaid scale. So hey, it only makes sense to add some mermaid scales to my mermaid tail, right? Now, I was worried about like kind of smoothing this out, getting all the wrinkles out on it. And I actually end up putting these on upside down, and I don't notice it until I'm completely done with the project. So don't call me out. I realized it, but too late. But that's okay, because I'm going to hang my mermaid tail upside down anyway. So I don't think anybody's really going to be able to notice it. But this is right here is where I should have stopped. Because see, the fish scales should have technically went the other way, but that's okay. We all make mistakes, right? So I'm going to cut out a little bit smaller of a piece here. And I ironed out all the wrinkles just to make it easier to work with. And then I won't have any wrinkles in the final project. And then just simply hot gluing that to the top with a little extra left, because I can always trim down any extra fabric when we're done making this. Now it does like cave in quite a bit there inside the tail. But this fabric is flexible enough that you can kind of do that downward curve with it. So I'm just gluing it onto the squiggly lines. Also then gluing it to the sides. Now I've used burlap behind wire reforms like this at the Dollar Tree before. Usually I just go in from the front with some rope, and you know, the glue kind of comes down and catches the fabric. But since I'm needing to do like this concave shape inside there, I really kind of had to do this as a separate step. So just kind of working one section at a time. I just add hot glue all over the wire. I don't want to use too much because I don't want you to be able to see it in the final product, but pretty easy. Just smoothing it down there inside the tail. Now I'm going to do something different for the tail fin. So that is probably good right there. And I can start cutting some of the extra fabric away. Now you're going to have a little bit of a hot glue mess. You can usually take care of that with a little bit of heat from a heat gun or a blow dryer. But I'm going to go ahead and start trimming this up. This area at the bottom was a little tricky where it comes to the tail fin right there. Getting that covered and glued down. But I'm just going to give it like a trim just as close as I can get to the side of the wire. I will be covering the wire, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it catching. Now this was my plan for the tail. I found some of this glitter cardstock at the Dollar Tree, and it's that same beautiful color of teal. I think this is going to look perfect in my Florida room. I was a little worried because it's paper, but it's super glossy on the back and glitter on the other side. And I'm going to be hanging it on a wall that like won't get wet or anything like that. So I think it's going to work. It's heavier duty than I thought it would be. So I just turn that over and I'm just going to trace out the shape of the little mermaid tail fin onto the glitter paper. You could always use some of the sequins if you can find some. I already used all of my teal sequins. I've been finding that at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. That would be really cute too. Or some of their glitter vinyl would work too if you want to do a sparkly tail. Once I get it cut down to size, I'm going to just simply put hot glue all over all of the wires of the reform. I'm trying to act quickly so my hot glue does not set up before I get it on there. And then just glue that on. I don't really want any of that to be hanging over too much, but just like the fabric a little bit, because we're going to be covering all the wire parts of this with just some Dollar Tree rope. This is the one that I ended up using, the white one that is a little bit thinner. I think this is the 11-foot white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and it did a good job. At first, I thought about using the brown rope, but I thought it would kind of match in with the burlap a little bit too much, and I wanted a little bit of a contrast, which is why I went with the white, but I'm sure it'd be cute either way. If you guys recreate this, you'll have to be sure to share it with me and others in my Facebook group. I always love seeing what you guys come up with. You guys are so creative. So I'm going to start with just the squiggly lines on the tail, gluing that on and then cutting it off once I get to the end, because I will be eventually going around the whole thing with rope. So I want to cut it a little bit short so I have room for the rope on the sides. But we're just going to do that all the way down with the little squiggly lines, kind of just working one section at a time. And that's why I went with the skinnier white rope instead of the thicker, is because I thought it would be easier to get around all of these little squiggles right here. And, you know, I know a lot of people have done this mermaid wreath form with like the deco mesh, and they do have the shore living deco mesh if that's your thing. I'm just not a big fan of the deco mesh. I don't really like working with it. I don't really like how it looks in the end. Just not a fan. So I always try to find a little bit different method to deal with these little wire wreath forms. And this was really fun and cute. And I have a couple of these, so I'll have to try to do several different versions of mermaid tails for you guys. I was thinking about putting two back to back and you kind of have a 3D tail. That would be really cute if you needed it for like a tail decoration or something. And my camera died right there, but all I did was just glue a piece on each one of the stripes of the tail fin. And now we can just start doing the outside. I thought about switching up to the thicker rope for the outer, but I decided this looked pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the same skinnier white rope that we've been using before and just gluing it right on top of the wire reform, which is going to hide that. I know some people like to leave the wire exposed, but especially with the hot glue that I had to use to attach the things to the back, I really kind of want to cover that up, and the rope gives another fun beachy coastal touch to this DIY. So just finishing up this last side, and then I can just cut and glue down the final corner. Now, the only part of the wire reform that still needs to be covered is that little part like between the fin and the tail. So I'm just going to cut a little piece for that. This one was a little tricky to get it in there, but we're going to make it work. Just kind of going over that original like curved shape there. Now all I need is a hanger, so I'm just going to cut some twine. This is just some Dollar Tree pretty twine, but I'm just going to tie a knot and just make a simple loop hanger for one side of the tail fin. That way it will hang cool kind of to the side and upside down. And maybe I'll get away with those upside down mermaid tail scales, right? I didn't notice it until the next day, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I put those on upside down. So silly. And let me show you how this looks.
I love the mermaid tail wreath form. It's really versatile. I've done it lots of different ways here on my channel. This is definitely one of my favorites. I really love how all of The fun colors and textures work together on this mermaid tail, and anytime I can craft with burlap and nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, I'm always going to be really happy to do that, and it makes a really easy wreath DIY. Now it's time for the final reveal. I hope you got lots of great crafting inspiration from today's beach crafting marathon. Be sure to let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. I love reading all of your comments. And don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, for individual DIYs on your phone. Enjoy!
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore. Are too big. Can I get some comfort, please? I guess I should have been honest. It breaks in my heart. It's weighing me down, baby. I'm like a river that's overflowed. The sooner you know it, the less do we hurt. Let me speak the truth. Face it, you think it's too late, but I can see past the rain. Won't you lay it on me? Turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighter. Throw our problems in the flame. Throw our problems in the flame. We fell down to the bottom, so bottom up please. We're gonna get over this. I one step away from salvation. You're like the ocean, setting me free. Out in the open, I'm picking up speed. No bad thoughts penetrate. Hold me like this is the first time. Our destiny calls, not leaving this incomplete. Won't you lay it on me? Turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighters, and throw our problems in the flame. Throw our problems in the flame. And throw our problems in the flames. Ooh, throw our problems in the flames.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Lori Hollingsworth, Mindy Hupp, and Jenny. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you would also like to become a Crafty Beach Fun member, all you have to do is hit the join button on your phone or your computer. Next to today's video, you're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. We would also love to see what you've been crafting. I know so many of you guys are so creative, and I love to see it when you make my DIYs as well. Be sure to share them with us in our private Facebook group, linked in the description of today's video. And finally, if you would like even more coastal crafting inspiration, be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!